Let's
Let's rock.
see. I think we're rocking right now. Everything looks like it's up. So, and your audio sounds great. I can hear you well. So, want to welcome everybody to a little bit further discussion. I don't know what we would call this. I would just like to introduce that Beatles has been gracious enough to join here to kind of do a Q&A. He and I had a discussion, a chat for a couple hours yesterday over this Negro League project and kind of, the vision for it and the impact and what we think and the approach. And I walked him through some stuff and we thought, hey, what a better opportunity it might be for us to come together here and just kind of give an update on how we see this thing playing out. I see Forever Remain 90s popping in. And then we may have some time today for another head to head matchup because those are fun. So,
Mhm.
Beatles, what do you got to say about that?
Well, first, guys, this is so I mean, again, Steve is maybe some quick background while we wait for some people to come in because there'll be other people watching this later. Um, so we had this idea some time back to do Negro League baseball right at the conclusion of our Ned McGreevy League, paying homage to 19th century and dead ball players, largely forgotten. But who is even more forgotten than they are Negro League players. And so kind of floated the idea. MV and I were trying to figure out first which platform are we going to do this on, because Out of the Park Baseball has all the Negro League seasons, has everything, right? There's home brews out there for Diamond Mind and stuff like that. Baseball for Windows has its own disc. I didn't want to do Baseball for Windows because, we do enough Ernie Harwell during the day. So we were looking at Action PC Baseball, everybody's favorite sim, by the way, right, Steve?
It's mine.
Mine as well, and it should be everybody's, but I won't be too fascist right now about that. Um, and so we noticed that there were only 8 Negro League seasons. So that Dave Cook offers right now. And the problem is you're not getting some of the earlier players and some of the later players. So there's Robbie Wartburg.
Hey, Robbie.
So we're talking about this one day during a game, and Steve's starting to think, wow, maybe some ideas. And then Big Clue swoops in. Hey, MV swoops in. And Steve, you want to take it from here? Tell him about what Big
Yeah,
Clue starts
so
you in.
let me just type. I'm trying to type and think and talk at the same time here. Welcome, MV. Here's what happened. I knew that you've done your Ned McGreevy dead ball, which is kind of its own unique thing, and it's been interesting to me. And I thought, and I know you wanted to do some other projects. You talked about Negro League, talked about some '60s baseball, and I'm cranking out my 5 year franchise slices. I'm head down loving that, right? And then I thought, man, this Negro League project would be great because as soon as probably about a week or so ago, I started digging out some old, I guess, project sheets where I had taken like a all-time greats players and I'd taken their best, I think 7 years or five. I did a seven and I did their 5 years, right? I'm going to pick your best five, average it out because, like you mentioned earlier on your broadcast today, just doing a career average that's not indicative of a player's peak, right? I want to get my own version of a peak, and I don't want to take Dave Cook. If you own Action, you need to own the History Collection. Just let me hands down say that that's a must buy, and I know you own it because it has every player carded that ever played, even if only played a handful of games, and he has his own internal formula for peak, right? So I thought,
Hell,
well,
Moonlight Graham is in there.
Moonlight
He
Graham
really
is in
is.
there. Yeah. And
Moonlight
so
Graham is in
I've
there.
never, so I'm thinking about what else could I do? So I want to do a greatest players file myself on based on their greatest 3 years. So I thought, well, if I'm going to tackle a Negro League, I'm going to take the same that approach because it can be its own file to just play that, but I want it to coexist and be able to be part of a greater one where you could have an all-time greats and have them included with the major league, right? And I think that's
Hmm.
kind of where I do know that like Action has created seasons that exist, right? Like the 1922, a specific league. I'm not looking to do any of that. I'm trying to take and make kind of I'm picking the 3 years of their career and create that card so that I can get like a greats file that you could use for a draft league on its own, which I believe Beatles has the um, desire to do, right? Have a draft league with just the Negro League. But that's
Yes.
great. But I'm going to get to that second project at some point, which will be in some ways easier, in some ways bigger, but easier to do.
Hmm.
And then I want, when it's done, to have all of that be able to be in the same universe, if that makes sense, right? Neutralize stats that using the same consistent approach. And Big Clue came in and really made me drop what I was doing and run to this because he introduced me to the MLEs, or Major League Equivalency work, that a group had done and then shared with MLB, as a matter of fact, and all that. So when I saw that they had rated pretty much any Negro League player that has an above average WAR rating, which means all the ones you'd want, right? And there's several hundred of them. I'm like, that's enough to get a league started. So I'm like, hey, when I started seeing that the data was there, I'm like, this is what I was missing. Somebody's crunched a lot of the numbers and come up with their own formula, some Bill James approach and some other stuff to look at how you can try to find an equivalent batting line if these players came to play in Major League Baseball. And
To
so,
think about that, guys, if I can just interrupt, because there's just a couple things I just want to keep driving home, and I know
yeah,
Steve's channel, but Steve knows I'm a wacko. So,
ah,
so,
yeah,
so, think about what Steve just said there for a second, guys. What he's about to show you and what he's creating. All right, because if you were to take just the 8 Negro League seasons that were done, and YouTube, that's what they were called. So don't dink Steve. All right. So imagine this, right? So for the first time, right? Because if you would try to take those Negro League seasons and say, okay, I'm going to put some of these guys into a draft, right? Well, if you know, and we could bring up one of the Negro League seasons or whatever, and show you that like the Kansas City Monarchs, I think in 1937 played like maybe 68 or 70 games.
let's
These
pull
aren't
one up here. I'll pull up
okay.
1935. Let's take a look at that.
Okay, 1935, and you're going to see some of the inherent issues with Negro League Baseball. So those of you that know a little bit about it will also know that in addition to the games that they played intra-league, as it were, so you had the Negro National League, and for a while you had the Eastern Colored League. The Negro National League was really dominant, right? But these guys didn't play. I mean, look at these plate appearances here. So you have Cool Papa Bell, all right, up there on the screen, guys. You can see 214 plate appearances. Cool Papa Bell, one of the greatest of all time. Judy Johnson, only 170. Why? Because they didn't. They played in addition, probably. Oh, God knows. I think I've some accounts. 170, 180 game seasons, but they were playing against semi-pro teams. Again, they were doing barnstorming with major league teams pre-postseason. So these guys would get eaten alive statistically. So what Steve's about to show you is something that every baseball geek that has an interest in all of baseball has wanted to do, and that's to put these guys on a playing field. And Steve, it's all yours,
Yeah,
man.
and so I've got Dave Cook's. This is action season, and again, these are great for season replays. I don't know what it is, but I've done single season replays a ton with baseball sims. I just have, and it's just not in my kind of current wheelhouse into interest. And but it's here, right? They've taken the data that exists, and if anybody wants to go to this site right here, Seamheads, and go to the Negro League database, and this is where you've got so much information. So for me, when I'm rating a season or looking at stats, this is crucial because they've got run saved range here, they've got some arm stuff here in the left field. So this is wonderful for me when I'm going in there and trying to figure out how to rate stuff, right? But the thing is we want to put them on an equivalency of playing, like at a 154 game major league season. Now, we can't make up what's not there, but we can at least take a look at what they did and then kind of, I call it extrapolate that out, right? I mean, take what's known, extrapolate it, and then there's a lot of guesswork in. Okay, now how would they have performed if we brought them in? Nobody knows that. This is not science. This is a little bit of data or a decent amount of data, and there's some art. There's some creativity that blends in with this, right? So, a lot of these are guesstimates, best guess. But what got me excited is these folks have done a bunch of the legwork. So if I can pull up a little bit of their database, I just give you an example because I was creating Dobie more. So here's the batting lines on Dobie Moore that have been run through their major league equivalency. So this batting average and these numbers won't match what he did in real life. But what they've done is try to neutralize that and look, and then at the same time, bring it into major league with an equivalency. So you can see right here, um, the games played on a major league equivalency, they've got them out to where they're based on 154 game schedules. That's a good starting point for me. So I use this as one of my factors. I also use a little bit of reverse engineering with some other known stuff out there. And then I use a weight from their actual real lines. And then what I call, I have my secret ingredients here. It's kind of my recipe for how I'm weighting all of these different resources to get into a file. I'm going to tackle here pretty soon using my greats, building about 10 of those as well. Because as you can see, I can pull up my file here, get rid of that. Everybody's
Oh,
looking at
big
this thing.
MV has a big question
Oh,
for you
MV, what
here,
do you got?
Steve. I'm helping you by
Oh,
watching
okay.
chat. So he says, how on earth did the major league equivalencies? How did they do it? He wants to research that.
Oh, perfect. Well, here's what I'll do.
I just figure you're doing all the driving. I can help by watching chat for you.
You
So
betcha, man. So I'm going to share some of this for you. Where's my and at seam heads, I'm just going to put the article in here, and this will lead you to all the cool places. I'll drop it right in there. And Major League Baseball has looked into this. This is just, it's a good article here by Kevin Johnson, and you can just head down the rabbit hole when you look at some of the formulas for the Major League equivalencies. Um, but I think they're brilliant. The other thing it's going to lead me to do is when I create the greats file, I'm going to neutralize them to the point where I'm not going to I'm going to remove them from their parks and run them into a neutral season. And I won't bore everybody with this, but there's a lot of also decade and era and 3 year things that I'm doing to be able to set the eras the right way when I'm done here with this as well. So a lot of fun work behind the scenes, but I will highlight right here. Here is the file because I think I've got, let me see over here. I've got data crunch now for 16 batters. Some of these folks were pitchers too. I haven't got into any of the pitching lines yet.
and remember, guys, this is not using like data. Right, so Steve is like hand doing
Yeah,
each player. And who were we talking about yesterday? Not only Martin Digo, but Biz Mackey.
we were
Wasn't that
talking.
fun?
We were talking about Bismack. So you'll see down here at the bottom, I've just basically created some placeholder teams to just start building so that I
On
can
your screen
see.
share, Steve, I'm sorry, it's only showing Action PC,
Oh, perfect.
so they're not seeing what you're seeing.
Great. So yeah, now they are. Perfect. So you can see here I've got team one in here, and here's the team for it. Um, and I've got these players created so far. One of the things I can tell you, you'll see I've got pictures down here. So I'm as I go, I just created a template just to drop over it, and I've been compiling. So when I do a player, get all the data line put together, then I get the fielding stuff researched. Then I stop and say, let me go grab the pictures. And now I created a baseball card template so I can create the files. So as I go, I've got everything done. I'm not going to have to wait and say, okay, I'm done with all my data. Now let me build them. Or now I'm done with the build. Let me go back and get pictures. So I'm trying to just slow down. The other thing is, I'm going to show you an interesting tab. If you're ever in action and you're going through all these tabs, right? Usage, here's the one that's great, right? There's a bio tab that will show you kind of the park that they're in and the year assigned and all that good stuff. But there's a note section. And sometimes you'll see like HOF for Hall of Fame or, Cy Young winner for a year. Action uses it and it's 100 characters. And here's what I'm using it for: notes. So there's 100 characters, and what I'm doing is putting in notes, just little tidbits um, about the player. So along with the cards, and we'll see what this looks like on an actual card. If I go in here and pick up Biz Mackey, here's Biz Mackey. Here's his picture, right? And you'll notice it shows up right here. It says a premier catcher with outstanding throwing arm, batted over 300 for 8 straight seasons. I'm limited because the game limits you to 100 characters. Okay. So at the same time I'm creating the player, I'm going into Wikipedia, into Baseball Reference Bullpen, and researching some tidbits about the players and trying to synopsize it enough within those 100 characters, put it in here. So um, height and weight, I'm also putting those in here when I create the player. So I'm trying to, as I go, make this as, I guess, complete and historical and visually pleasing and full of as much information as I can.
And these cards are beautiful that he's making. Really
So
are.
I can pull up the cards
Yeah,
because
they're
there's some players I
brilliant.
haven't got in here.
But so think about so for the education, while Steve is bringing that up, right? So the and it is a shame that it's 100 characters, but nice, succinct, and we get to learn about these players as we play. How cool is that, right? You're not going to find
Yeah.
these guys. I don't care. You have a big old thing of like old total baseball or whatever, but having this in the game environment, I think is brilliant. Look at these cards, guys.
There's some others. There's Cristobal Torriente. I haven't done him yet. Dick Lundy's done. So anyway, just kind of highlighting some of the pictures that I have done. And for those of you that maybe would appreciate a tutorial on this, let me show you a cool thing. Remember how we said under rules, let me show you a couple things under rules. I'm just playing around with this league, but when we go under rules, check out what I did. I click this box that says locate player photos in subfolder, which means it's going to be a subfolder of the league that we just named. So now when I go to look at my players, let's take a look at player photos in the game. I go to my DK Sports data file, I go to baseball, and I go to player photos, right? I was just dumping all of my other 5-year files just into the main folder. But if you look up here, when you select that under your league, it creates a folder that's the same name as your league. And now I drop just those players just for that league. So that's what I'm following away. So if this may be helpful to some of you that are looking at how you use the subfolders, go to rules, tell the game you want to use subfolders, and then when you go into your player, your normal player photos, you'll see these subfolders that will have the same name as the league you're playing. So then you can have league specific photographs.
That's brilliant too,
So
because
here
I
they
was
are.
one
So
of those people before uh, told us about that. I was just dumping everybody into just
yeah,
photos. I was like, so this is nice.
yeah, and what's great about it, and I'm that's why I wanted to create a template where these players moved around teams so much, right? So there's no way to do what I was doing before and try to match colors. So I just came up with a generic template. You'll see I found a logo online that I liked here for Negro League Baseball, and if you notice at the bottom of my screen, that logo is showing up for the league because under
That's
rules,
nice.
you go to rules again, and you want a league logo. We're calling this the Buck O'Neill Tribute League right now here, but you
Hmm.
go under rules and then you can set up an actual league logo. And you just drop that logo in with all the other logos that you have, for setting up teams. So that's, if you're interested, then your customized leagues logo will show down here.
MV has a question for you.
Yep.
He says on the subject of photos, cool Papa Bell always causes an issue. He says it never assigns in similar players with nicknames with spaces. So I think what he's
Yeah.
saying is he's yeah,
Here's what
with
you do.
uh,
Here's what you do, MB. Yeah. Sometimes if I've named the photo, like if we look at my, we'll pull up my file here and see the photo names, right? If this is how I've chosen to do it. You can do it without a dash in the middle or whatever it is here. Here's my players. So I've chosen this format: Biz underscore Mackey, Buck underscore Leonard. But you see what I do is I put the numbers 2, 3, and 4 behind it so that I have options. And when I go into my team roster, I can go up under here, roster tools, and I hit player photos and nicknames, and I can go tell it what format I'm using. You see one of the options is first underscore last. You got last underscore first. You got a comma. Okay. Those are the formats that the game recognizes, right? Um, so you need to make sure that what they're labeled in the game, your photo matches it. So if you look here at Cool Papa Bell, you'll notice I have Cool Papa underscore Bell, and I have this picture I'm using, but I can go over here and say, oh, I have these other options. And this is what I like, having options for people. You may say, hey, I like this picture better. Well, great. Use that photo. Oscar Charlton, it's going to default to the one where I've selected the naming, but here's two, here's three. Hey, I want to use this one. So you have a lot of ability to come through here and do it. So the main, you'll also notice it's looking at other options and trying to guess what it could be. So you never, it's only going to ever assign one picture based on the format, but you got to make sure that your photo is named exactly as the player is named in the game. Hopefully that helps. And if it's not, you're going to, maybe if you've missed it or something, you might have to come over here and search on suggested photos. Or if you can't find it, this will scroll through every available photo you have. And even if it's not named the same, like I could come in here and find Buck Leonard for Josh Gibson and say, assign that photo for Josh Gibson. Now, if you look, when I go to back to Josh Gibson, it's got Lundy's photo. So you can pick any photo just by scrolling down. Um, but it's given me suggestion ones, and I'm like, yeah, there's Josh Gibson, there's the right one. So I've never viewed, let's put it this way, I've never been under the impression or belief or ever trusted that you could just hit a button and have the game auto assign it, because there's always going to be somebody that misnamed it, or they're using a shorter version or a nickname and not the full name. To me, you've got to go in after you do that and double check at the team level and see if everybody stuck. That's what I call it. Did it stick?
So MV, where you're getting, so just so you don't confuse, so what is under rules is that's where you're putting that's where you're creating those subdirectories,
Yes.
so that way, right, as Steve mentioned earlier, because I've done the same thing, right, dumped all my players just into the photos thing. And
Yep.
so even think of it outside of this project. So if you have a picture of, Richie Hebner, and you're playing the Pirates, but Hebner's wearing the wrong livery, now you have options.
Yep.
So if you were doing like 1971, right? But as
Yep.
far as the assignments for players, that's actually edit. You want to edit, and you can go in and you'll see the
Yep.
edit menu under rosters,
So I'm
and
showing my
that's
big, this is where I throw everything for my 5-year files. And you can see, and since I throw everybody in there, I have to have things like, here's Doyle Alexander T, Doyle Alexander TOR, because he played for different teams, right? So I have to have a way that when you're cycling through, because it's only going to auto assign the basic name, right? It's not going to go into your numbers. But you may have a version here on different teams. So that's what I try to do on that big file, so that I have to go in at the team level and say, yeah, I want Doyle Alexander, but I need to select him in a Texas uniform. So I'll name different versions of Doyle Alexander with an at the very end, like Doyle Alexander T, Doyle Alexander T123. That's just kind of how I've done it if you throw them all. But if you're doing a specific project, what better than to have this, where you go in, think I'd be faster with all this stuff. DK Sports Data, baseball, player photos. You see, I've got this hodgepodge of everything there. But what, set up a little cool league, like if you're going to do 1922, just hit that box under rules. It will create whatever the name of your league is right over here. And then you can start dropping league specific photos just for that. So that's a cool way to categorize replays if you just want to see photos. And there's people out there that have downloads that are just for specific years, the photo
well,
packs.
I've got to butt in here for a second because Big Clue says anybody his age knows what the Beatles sounds like. Well, let me tell you, mate, when Paul and I first started the Beatles, we didn't quite sound like this, did we? Big Clue coming in and giving me some grief. So there you go,
Big
guys.
clue. This is I'm honored to have a great co-host with me. So this is a 2-for-1 deal. Is that the way we should look at it?
And
Oh,
well, we have you and Big Clue here. Big Clue already giving you some love earlier in the chat. Steve explaining, and we'll probably be explaining more your major contribution to this awesome project. Yeah.
yeah, no, appreciate that. But yeah, Big Clue just fed me some really good stuff to kind of get me motivated on doing this. So my goal is to kind of walk through this and make sure it's complete. It looks good. It has all the bells and whistles, and it's something people can enjoy, right? If this is something that you want to do, you know, Action already offers the specific the specific seasons, right? So the ones that they've got enough data, right, for, and go grab them, right? I think there's 8 Beatles, is that right? 7 or 8, and
There's eight Negro League seasons right now on offer.
yeah. But to me, and I own them all. But to me, like
Same.
to replay, I like looking at them, but to replay, I haven't really found myself wanting to replay the season because for me, the Negro League, the context of a specific season doesn't resonate with me. What resonates with me are the players, right? And that missing thing of, hey, they didn't have a chance to play in the major leagues. What if, right? To me, that's the real kind of holy grail here. How do we get them, you know, in with the major league file? So the one thing I'll say is, the one thing I think that Diamond Mine Baseball Online does is they do have a player pool there that's, I think theirs is based on peak too. I don't know if theirs is total career or peak or some version of a
If
peak or
it's
something
based
like
on
that.
their all-time, if it's based on the all-time great players discs they have for the game, it's peak also. So
Okay.
it's similar to Baseball History Collection, which is nice.
Perfect. Yeah. So they do like a peak, right? Well, guess what? They include the prominent Negro League players. So, and I haven't played in an online league there in a while, but I am a member there, and it's interesting because they've got them rated. So what's cool is you can do a draft league, and you can have Lou Gehrig at first, and you can have cool Papa Bell in the outfield, and to me that would be my goal, right? I think it's twofold.
Hmm.
Let it be a standalone Negro League greatest players thing to do a draft or a project, and then expand that out so that they can be included in an all-time great. So that's really kind of the two-step goal I have here with this overall project.
Which is brilliant because if you think about how we define all-time greatest players, and with the again with these MLEs, the big clue, and all the data that he's has sent to Steve, we're really going to be able to meaningfully create a true all kinds of all-time great draft leagues, truly, without saying, okay, because anybody before 1947, again, just going by the raw stats that you see in these seasons, they're great. They're going to play such a just a small role in it. I think that what Steve's creating here is, again, now we can truly have a real all-time greats draft league.
Yeah, and
With cool Papa Bell and Hannes Wagner and Mickey Mantle all in the same damn
so
team.
this is
So
still draft, right? But this may be tweaked later as I go back, as I get the pool bigger and I'm looking at my settings. But Baseball Seamheads has wonderful research on Negro Leagues right now, as far as the things that I rely on as far as ratings, helping me with arm ratings and helping me with range ratings, because they're using the formulas from Humphrey's book, Wizardry, which I'm a huge fan of. Okay, and that's where they get the range data and the arm, and it's very helpful for me when I'm rating players, right? And then now that Big Clue has turned me on to these major league equivalencies, it allows me to get the batting lines. And I'll give somebody a little peek into my, I'll call it my nonsense here. Here's one of my
now
nonsense files.
we will answer Big Clue really quickly. Yes, this is we're going to be doing a league, and we would love for you to participate, as you said. So
Yeah.
it's going to happen. It's not going to happen until later in the year, but it is definitely going to happen.
So you can see Dobie Moore here. This is the line that I just built him into the game with, but I erased it down here. But this is Dobie Moore's line. The 3 years I'm using. This right here, as you can see, that's what came from the major league equivalencies. I've got some information that, and I'm waiting for another source to get here by mail, hint, hint, that I can look at. But
Please.
what's interesting to me is uh, Diamond Mine has on their online thing, they have run so many sim games. So this would be Dobie Moore in a standardized league over there, mixed in with major league players based on a peak, I guess it is. This is how he performed. And the reason I like that is to see how he performed in the sim environment. There's a little bit of reverse engineering, but it's because those have uh, trying to think about how I'll say this, because some of the data might be missing for seasons, right? Like intentional baseball on balls or whatever. So this kind of lets you see the formula they taken. You can look at kind of action, how action filled in the blanks on those, and I have my own formulas where you can go back and kind of look at certain era, um, and I'm getting confused here because now Big Clue's want me to do Japanese player. That isn't going to happen, Big
I
Clue.
knew you were going to see that. I knew you were
Not
going to
going to
see that.
happen. Um,
Because now you're reminding me of the movie Scanner or
I'm
something
not
like
I'm
that.
not I'm not leaving this hemisphere. Let's put it that way when it comes to the baseball analytics, but I'm keeping it here. This is enough to chew on for a while. Um, but this gives you a line, so you can see in that line that's a 281. So what I'm doing is taking a combination of their real line, which you can see up here that they've done, which gives me this down here, and I can weight that, and then I can convert that over into more of a full season, and then I look at how many the percentage of games played they had for the team, and then just multiply that out if it was a 154 game schedule. So this is a lot of the mad science stuff. And then over here on another chart that I have that thing broken down where they're all weighted, and then I can come back in here and drop in the line as I go, and I get 20 or 30 players done here, and then I move over and look at the MLB. I can start comparing these to make just kind of see if the numbers are looking good. Because if you get into the MLEs, even the people that came up with them are worried about maybe some of the formulas. Maybe they're favoring batting average versus sluggers, or the opposite. There's some different approaches to figure out how do you kind of neutralize this, mix two leagues together. There's a lot of science and data behind it, and a little bit, or even a lot more polish that goes on it. A creative element, I should say. So,
Robbie, we're not gonna tangent. I just this question, then that way it's not hanging out there. So Robbie, so Robbie, you ask what is with Japanese baseball anyway? I suggest, as I always do some research, my friend. One thing, baseball is a religion in Japan, and great players have come out of there. Ichiro Suzuki, I'm sure you've heard of that guy. Sadaharu Oh, you might not have heard of. Japan is going to become just a great fertile ground for players. We're going to see many more players from Japan, from Korea, whatever. Um, but research it, Robbie. It has a great it is very interesting history in how baseball was introduced in Japan prior to the Second World War. Good stuff. And but we want to stay on Negro leagues, but research it. What's with it? It's an awesome game. It's baseball, man. And believe me, the Japanese people, it is. I would say, I don't know, maybe just sorry for the tangent. I'll get off of it in a second. Baseball in Japan is at least as big as it is in Latin America, if not more so. It's huge. Lefty O'Doul, Big Clue says, right. Lefty O'Doul so instrumental in introducing the game to Japan, and the Japanese have done amazing things. So there's your answer, Robbie. Read up, buddy. Sorry, Steve.
oh, no problem. Um, no problem at all. I'm just kind of looking at the chat here too. Rube Foster, yes, there is. And I can give you an example. Some fielding data, look here, I can come up with a fielding line for Willie Wells. Well, how can I do that? Well, I know what 3 years I'm using. And I know that in their career at that position, there is data. Now, it may not be every season. So if you're doing a full season reconstruct, you're like, well, I need that season data. Well, I'm not doing it. I'm doing a slice of them. So even if I'm missing one of my 3 years, I can look at another surrounding year or year where they had data and figure out, okay, if they're playing 20 games at shortstop, how many assists and putouts did they average during those games, and just kind of expand that out in the other setting, right? That's a more realistic way to approach it, or basically the only way I have to approach it. And it's nice that there is enough fielding data throughout their career where you can get an idea of how many putouts and assists they would have when they were playing those positions. So there's enough data there to create a realistic version of them at the positions, and the rating that's there to be able to assign them ratings on a 1 to 10. So I feel really comfortable with that. Um,
And I think it's important, Steve, that you would kind of really hammer that home because, right, is when Steve and I, we were talking yesterday about this, and so he's not because you have data, right? And numbers are numbers. And one of the beautiful things about mathematics, right, is simplicity, right? So you're not if you have surrounding years. I think there was one player. Was it Bismacki? You were showing me yesterday that there was some missing years, but as you were talking about earlier, being able to extrapolate. So these stats that are going in here and these major league equivalencies, it's not like saying, "Oh, I mean," and again, there's an art to it, as Steve said, but it's like, well, I like Willie Wells, so I'm just going to jack up his home run numbers or his batting average. There's this isn't just something arbitrary, right?
Yeah, I smelly wrestling geek. Yeah, I look at it that way, and I'll give you an example right here. So let's take a look, and I'll kind of show you where I go with that. Right.
Welcome in, smelling wrestling geek.
I have data from games to know how people are rated. Like you could say, like in Diamond Mind, some they're going to get what? Poor, fair, average, very good. So very good. Maybe that's a 7, 8 on the 10 scale. I don't know. Excellence a 9, 10. Right. We have that. But let's take a look at. I'm going to go to Willie Wells here, and this is what's great is we go to Willie Wells. We've got all his batting data. Now I go to fielding. Now I can go to his total fielding here and I can look down and I can see if you want to learn more about the run saved from his range. You can start seeing that great defender, right? So you'll see that how much is average. A lot of times, if it's right around just a little bit below zero or a little bit above, I'll consider that average, right? You start getting here where it's like 3 point, and I know this from having done many DIS and looking at how others are rated. 1.2, 3.9, that's probably a 7. 5.5 to 7.4, now you're getting up to an 8. This one would definitely be probably a 9. And then when you got a 20.4 cento, that's probably a 10 rating. So I'm taking a look at a lot of the individual seasons and then kind of factoring their overall reputation. There is some subjectivity to this, but this is the closest thing with fielding some of these known range ratings and and I know their ratings are coming from Humphrey's work, which is a book I have called Wizardry, which deals with the never-ending quest of good data for fielding ability, right, with range and then arm strength. The other cool thing is if they played an outfield position. Let's pull up an outfielder here. Let's pull up Oscar Charleston here. I can go into his player search, right? I can go under fielding, and let's just look at basic fielding. Gives me over here, I can see his arm rating. So you can see based on the year, there's no metric here that shows that he had a cannon out there, right? I mean, based on the year, here's one where he's a little above average. Maybe that's a 7 arm. Here these are somewhere between 6, 7. Maybe you get up to an 8 in one year. I don't know. And some might be a 5 right here where you're seeing like 2 below average. I would rate that as a 5 arm. Um, but at the same time, you can see great range right there. So this is what I do is I go through and look at some of the information I already have from known sources and other games and how they've rated it. And then I'll come here and analyze this to see if the known numbers that we're relying on kind of back up that reputation, right? Because a lot of times people had reputation, and, they went by the old, this kind of stuff, right? Your range factor, like the league range factor and how many balls you got to, but there's more to it than just that. Hopefully that helps explain all that good stuff. Uh, So yeah, range, the separation of range and arm is key because that's what the game uses. So if we go back over here to the game, you're looking at their range here. Let's do fielding. And Willie Wells, I've got him. He's a 9 in shortstop. And you can see getting to a ball is one thing. And then what happens when you get there is another, because then the game will decide, okay, you got to the ball. Great. And maybe you got to the ball where somebody else wouldn't. Now, what is the fielding percentage rate for there to be maybe a glove error or a throwing error, right? So those are two independent things that are going to be looked at. Anyway, just a little peek behind some of the stuff I've got going on with the rating. But right now, I'm kind of rating as I go, and I'm looking at. I may come back as I start seeing the database fill out, and as I start building some major league players to see how their neutralized stuff comes out. I'm really excited because I now have an account with StatHeads, so I'm able to get really quick and beneficial reporting that I can export and manipulate. So it's a paid service with through Baseball Reference, but I finally took the plunge because hey, if I'm going to neutralize stuff, I need to see it in that format. And I need to take this approach with this file, and I need to do the same thing with my three. Because originally I thought, well, I could just pick the 3 best years and maybe pick an average year in between to assign them to, and I'm like, no, they need to be neutralized too, so that I'm on using the same approach for both so that they could coexist later into like a all-time baseball file. Why spend all this work and effort to do it and then not have the two be able to be merged together? Yeah, I agree. StatHead is a really nice service. Um, yeah, I
Do
agree.
you
Knowing how the sim engine works, right? But you can do a little reverse engineering with this game if you're willing to put in the time and kind of get a good breakdown. Um,
and what's nice, Steve, and we were talking yesterday, then we got the subject got to pictures, and Steve had let me know because I was saying, okay, so if you look, for those of you who know Action PC baseball, right, you're going to see next to pitchers like there's roles like starter, really, closer, whatever, and you'll see those pluses and all that kind of stuff. And so I asked Steve, I said, well, how do you even come up with those ratings? Because pitchers, I think there's a little bit more nuance there.
yeah, let me pull
And
up a
Steve said
file
that's
here.
baked into the game.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
let
It
me
looks at the
let's
stats.
do a little something fun here. Let me pull up a file just for see what I got lurking right there, Beatles. It's called the Beatles head-to-head file. There might be a couple teams that we're going to highlight here when we get done. I
Sweet.
guess making everybody tired of baseball talk.
Base Getting tired of baseball talk? Blasphemy. Blasphemy, I say.
Let me do that. And here's something I suggest. Another little, we call it a pro tip. I don't really think I'm a pro. There's a lot of people that know more about this game than me. But I can tell you, let's say we've got this tribute league and I wanted to mess around with it and test something. Just go up to utilities and back up the current database. So we'll call it Negro League Greats Backup, right? Copy database. So now, and I would suggest doing this for all of your files. I like to save all of my baseball seasons I own and I put the date behind it so that I know. And then if I go run a season, I just copy that and then go call it the replay and just play all I want with it. That way, if I destroy it or do something crazy, I always have that original file that's undisturbed because it's just easy to back up as many things as you want. So now, let's see here. We got the Beatles head-to-head league, which we might have some teams on here, right? So I can go to the greatest backup. So we can play around with this league a little bit. And here's one of the things you can do with the players. If you want to, you go in here and organize your players and generate default ratings. And here's the default ratings I will use. So when you create a player, there's some things that are automatically assigned based on the stats, right? But these are the ones I click all the time. Click every one of these, okay? Because they're going to give them a rating. And I will click pass ball rate because it's going to calculate the rate based on how many um, actual pass balls that are on the catcher's file, along with how many putouts they had or opportunities, and they'll come up with a rate per 1,000 or so many things like that. The other thing I'll do is right here, pitcher, ground ball, and fly. So if you don't know anything about these players, right? I create all these. The reason I don't do these is I hand do all these. I research fielding range, arms, the double play pivot, because I've got a formula to use for that for double plays per era and how many they turn per chances and all that where I can rate them, and the pitcher hold rating. And what's interesting about baseball seam heads, and the old baseball gauge used to have this, and thank God I have tons of data on pitchers hold rating kind of
God,
throughout
I
their
miss
career.
baseball gauge. I
Oh,
miss baseball
oh, I
gauge.
have so many these Excel files, if I ever lost them, that I had compiled that for almost every pitcher back when it was available. And the reason it's cool is, and I'll show you where we get it. So we go to seam heads. So let's go to seam heads and type in like Negro League pitcher, right? So let's say we want Rube Foster. Now let's do Satchel Paige. Okay,
Satch.
go to the Satch.
I got so I gotta say this though. Right. So while you're looking for this, Big Clue says so. Breaking news. Yeah. Trevor Bauer's been officially released this afternoon. He's now free to spend the summer stealing Robbie's potential wives.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
That might save Robbie from misery down the road. That could be a good thing. So here we go. So now if we look at Satchel Paige, this is what baseball gauge you should had. So if you look at this, he's in the 60th percentile when it comes to hold, right? So being able to hold runners. So I loved this because it was an easy snapshot to grab that and say, okay, overall as a career average, he's a 6. So in the game, you're going to have to rate the pitcher's ability to hold runners, right? So I've got information I can go to kind of give a good estimate on what that is. Whether they're a 6 is pretty average, right? Or if they're a 7, an 8, or 9, and this information is really helpful for that. So when I'm in the game setting up ratings, I don't mess with pitcher hold because I'm going to get that from an independent source. Same thing with arm, outfield arm. The rest of these, I'll hit generate ratings. Boom, generate ratings. Yes. Now the cool thing is when you go over here and or if you modify a player, let's take a look, right click on him and modify Willie Wells right here. You'll see what they gave him. So you'll see right here, oh, well, they looked at his jump and they gave him a 4. Why? Because they're going to look at how many steals he had per the times he was on base, because the game has that already built in to be able to figure that for you, right? They're going to look at and say, okay, he's at 4 based on how many steal attempts he had, right? Now, if you don't like it, come over here and make him a 5 or a 6. You have the full ability to edit that. Another reason why this game is a jewel, right? Same thing with bunt,
And if
sack,
Robbie,
bunt,
you're
hit.
watching closely, in about 10 seconds, Steve just showed you how to create a player. Believe it or not, all those fields are changeable. You can create a player from scratch
Yep,
right here. You were asking that the other day. There it is.
let's do it. How about I do one while we're here? So I go up to this roster, and this team means nothing. It's a placeholder for me just to get some of these people carded and on a file. But while I'm in a roster, I
Should we
just go over
card
here.
Robbie?
Well, we could.
We
Let's
could.
see here, and
Just teasing, just teasing.
yeah.
We love you, Robbie. You know we do. Robert Wartburg.
So you go here, whoever we're going to do, right? What are we going to do? We could do Rube Foster, right?
There we go.
Fill in all this stuff right here. Last name, short name, Foster. Sometimes if there's 3 or 4 Fosters, you could put, I think, comma R or whatever on there. Whatever he bats, you pick the age, and you're going to pick the year that he's based on, all that good stuff. I'm putting in height, weight, and all that good stuff. Then I hit save. There he is. And let's give him some fake, since I'm just playing around on a file here. Here's where I'd go to enter it. Let's give him, I'll go up here to edit batting. This is how I like to do it. You could do it all from one card. And I could just say, 120 games. Let's make something up. And we'll just fill all this stuff in, right? Some decent numbers that look pretty normal. We got base on balls, one intentional. See what he looks like.
Certainly for power MV.
Okay,
So I wouldn't say that's so much of a myth.
so take a look at this. Now I've just put in his batting line, right? So anyway, I made he's a based on all that stuff I put in. Let's take a look at him. Now when I look at him, you'll notice. Wait a minute. It automatically look what the game did. The game automatically gave him power versus left and right. And why did it do that? Because that is for your reference, right? And it had automatically assigned him a hit and run and a base running, right? But it hasn't done anything with these bunt, sack, or jump. So that's why I like to go and trigger and make sure it auto generates all the stuff I need. The other cool thing is I didn't put any lefty splits for him, did I? But check this out. Let's go to edit, batting versus left. And guess what they did? This is one of the best things Dave has done for Dave Cook for homebrewers is it automatically takes a look and uses historical lefty righty splits because there is no good lefty righty data yet for any Negro League stuff. It's great for regular baseball. Retro Sheet has wonderful stuff that goes way back. That's great. So I manually crunch those from my other files and put in the real data. But the game uses its own formula to estimate based on historical averages. So I didn't have to go type these in. The game did the math for me. Time saver, right? So now I go back and I'm like, ooh, I want Rube Foster to have those. So I just go out here and I go to organize and I'm going to say, guess what? Player ratings. I want all of this stuff and this stuff. Generate them. Now I haven't put fielding stats in for him, right? But now when I go back here, we pull up Rube Foster, you're going to see they show him as a pinch hitter because I haven't put fielding data. Now he has all this filled in. So the game is able to look at that and say, hey, well, the game's going to assign him as a base run 7. Why? Because the game has a built-in formula where it's going to look at how many times, you know, there's an element of like how many triples, extra base hits, stolen base attempts, things like that that it'll use to estimate. And it does a great job of estimating the base run. But if you came in there and said, well, Rube Foster really wasn't that good, make him a 6. Or if you think he's better, make him an 8 or a 9. So if we look at one of the best ones ever, Cool Papa Bell, look what the game did. It made him a 9 base run. Yeah, I agree. He's either a 9 or a 10 based on legend, right? One of the fastest people to ever play baseball, they say. So the
Cool
game does a
Papa.
great Cool Papa. Yeah,
Yes.
the game does a great job of that if you're creating players. Just remember that it'll automatically do some stuff without you triggering it. But if you want um, to have all of them filled in, always come back here to generate default and have it generate default stuff for all the stuff you don't have. You could do it for everything here, but I have all the data for these 5 categories, so that's why I don't do that. The one thing that I did have information on too is ground ball fly, because if we go back and look at how the game's determining that, you may look at a pitcher at some point. I don't have any pitchers created yet and disagree with that. And the cool thing is change it, right?
So MV asked a question, and actually, what's fun, MV, is again in Action PC 2023. Will answer your question for you. So, but MV asks way back, and again, these haven't been tested yet, MV. But he says, with the players created so far, how they compare to the major league players that you've done previously. Where does Josh Gibson sit, for example, against the real Ted Kluszewski? Remember that once this is done, because I mean, Steve's using these major league equivalencies. Don't forget in Action PC 2023, even before you test any, I mean, right, if you just want to do just a straight up kind of comparison,
Yeah.
that batter pitcher analysis tool is going to give you a great idea. So, I mean, you're looking at
Yes.
these stats, but I would say that would be a quick and dirty way to kind of see how they're going to do. And
Well,
such,
let's social.
this part,
Give
the
me a
roster
player.
strength,
Let's pull up Ted. Okay, we're gonna pull up the big clue right here. So if we go to Baseball
right on.
Reference, we all know and love this, right? Oh, I might want to log in.
There was only one Babe Ruth, absolutely.
So let's go in and take a peek at the big clue, right? So here's Ted Kluszewski, right? So I can go and I can tell you, I know because I did his card, right? It's these 3 years. So when I looked at, because I started working on the Reds and Giants, what 3 years would I pick for Kluszewski? When you look at this, now there's some subjectivity here. I've got to make a decision, but I look a lot at OPS, how many games. Um, Look at these 3 seasons here. I mean, literally, because of the games played, I just grab these and I go down to. It makes it easy when they're together because they'll only work this way. Bam. So Ted Kluszewski, if we look at this, my raw numbers for him, that's what it's going to be on these 3 years average right here. And this does a lot of the math for me if they're consecutive, right? So if they're spread out over time, I've got to do a little bit more manipulation to figure it out. So let's keep this in mind. I'm gonna make a note here. So we got Kluszewski. He's a 319 hitter with 45 home runs. Okay, cool. Now, if I want to neutralize him, I come over here under advanced stats and I've got this option. I want to neutralize this guy. I want to get rid of the ballpark effects on. Now, how do I want to neutralize him? So I've got Kluszewski over here and I can say, well, I've got his results here. What environment do I want to put him in? I don't want him in a park, right? So let's take him out of the park. I need to pick an era. And this is where I'm going to be consistent with both is what era am I going to assign them to so that I'm looking at the same number. So if we come down here in a historical era here, let's call it 19, to 55 or whatever, let's get results. So if we look at this and then let's roll his years here. And what did I use? I used these 3 years in a row. I believe was it 54, 55, 56, right? And I can say, just show me, this is the cool thing about it, just show me the selected rows. So now you can see, here's what I've got. So I've just taken him out of his park.
That's brilliant.
I've taken him out of his park, and what happened? Okay, so I've got, if you look at his home run totals, averaged out over the 3 years, his home runs are going to go from 45 down to 42. Um, let's see, it's probably pretty close. And his batting average will go from 319 to 311. Anyway, just a quick hit on that. That's showing you the park effect it has. Now I can change all these numbers if I want to go move him around. So if we move Big Clue into, check this out, let's move him into uh, an actual park, say Boston Red Sox. Let's pick Fenway. So American League.
I think I'm gonna have to subscribe to StatHead.
Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah.
mesmerized. I'm mesmerized, man. Wow.
But you can change them to a style. You can change them to all kinds of stuff, right? So here's the let's erase this one here.
MV
Boom,
agrees.
Orioles. So it's
Okay.
going to look
Yep.
at the Orioles park, and it's going to pick a year. Say what's one of the what's how about Baker Bowl?
Oh, they're tiny little Baker Bowl. Okay, that's
Philadelphia
a
Phillies, right?
tiny,
National
tiny
League.
ballpark.
What's the year for the Baker Bowl back then? Give me a year. Beatles 20.
1915. 1915.
Okay, let's get results. So we move him into that park in 1915. We're going to get a different line. It's fetching right now.
Unlike so many dead ball parks, that thing was small.
Oh, two. Let me go back. I think I got off the beaten path. Ah, here we go. So here we go. Based on year. So you can just follow along and see based on year. You can go in here and change the criteria. I'm over here. Oh, here we go. Let's get the results for that. Boom. Here you go. So if we were leveling out the playing field and saying everybody in this league is going to be equivalency over or neutralized towards this, you got to tell them, you got to point them in that right direction. And you see how that changes a lot of things in the terms of home runs he's hitting in the years, right? A lot less home runs he'd be hitting because we've moved him into a park and in a whole different era back in the day. So this is fun stuff. So this is I rely a lot on this. So what I'm doing is taking a lot of time to neutralize stuff so that when we get over here, um, it's realistic or as close to realistic as we can be. Because how realistic can something that never happened be? Think about that. So I always love it when people say, "What's the approach? This is flawed. You know, this is no." Hey, all of this, even the people doing the MLEs tell you it's a guesstimate. So peeking at some chat here, big clue. Nice. Yeah, and in the game, that's another fun thing you can do in the game. Go look at your ballparks and
Mm.
double check them. Right.
Look at
Go to
that
park.
super short right field porch.
Let's
Baker
go
Bowl.
to
Again,
Baker Bowl.
remember,
Baker
Robbie,
Bowl.
that these parks weren't built quirky on purpose. They had to fit into cities. So
Yes.
it could very well be whatever cross street was going there along right field was only 280 feet. And yet you had huge parks like Forbes Field. So there was a lot more room in the Oakland section of Pittsburgh where Forbes Field used to be. So, today they're designing, parks, beautiful parks like PNC, Camden Yards, what have you, but for the aesthetics of that quirkiness, right? But Fenway, but look at Fenway and Wrigley, especially Fenway, with that weird angle and stuff like that. You had trolley lines, you had all kinds of things, and you couldn't just pull your car in in those old ballparks to see a ball game. It didn't work like that. As they
Yeah.
said in the Ken Burns documentary, if you wanted to get to Ebbets Field to see a game, you had to work for it.
Well, I'm just showing Shibe here. Let's go back to 1915, and let me show you why the year you choose your ballpark matters a lot. Right? Here's 1915. This means that it's 92 because it's assuming that base is 100. This means that for left-handed batters hitting towards right field, 92% increase in the home runs.
Wow,
92%, right? So almost double. This is one and a half times right
incredible.
here. So but now look at the next year. What happened? Oh, I don't know. Did they erect a big wall? No, because the park data is cool because we want data to reflect kind of the nuances of the park. But this is where the 3-year rolling averages to me mean much, much more. So you would take a look at this and say, hey, in this year that seems so high, they would take the year before it and the year after it and that current year and average them. And then you've got this rolling three, which most people that really analyze the park data say it's more indicative, unless there's a known issue where in 1 year they brought in the left field 30 feet, and that explains it. But
Again, that field is the 10th player. So
look at the
I've always felt that it's the 10th player.
look at the home run. Look at the anytime you see a plus number, but here's what it's doing. They're hitting home runs, but look at how diminished the triples are in these different
Yeah.
years. It was not I mean, you're getting killed on triples. That was not a triple spark, right?
Mhm.
So this is why it's so important. And if you're assigning it to you, let's say we're going to do a draft league with a team, right? You pick your park, and then you determine what year of park is it, right? Because the game needs to know, hey, what year park factors are we going to use? And this is like if you said, hey, I want my team's in Baker Bowl 1926, then when all the players go in there, it's going to go to 1926 and use these factors. You're going to have diminished triples, and you're going to get a 40% bump in lefty homers and a 90% bump in righty homers. Then the game will kind of adjust the what if in the game will show you that it'll show you what a player would do because it's going to take half of this and apply it because half of the games were in that park.
MV, one
Anyway,
thing I wanted to put in for you really quickly is a game that I'm going to be sending you because it's long been abandoned where forever that pioneered this sort of thing was old time baseball and its time machine. So you could that was one of the ideas behind that is that you could you know take Willie Mays back to the dead ball era, or you could bring Christy Mathewson into modern baseball or whatever. And it's for all its flaws, it's fun, but it's nice to see, yeah, with out of the park and action, really having it down to a science. But old time baseball, one of the pioneers of sort of cross era play and what if, a lot of fun. Just wanted to dump that in there for you.
yeah, let's take a look at last year's Comerica because Comerica is pretty much a pitcher's park, and here's why, right?
Yes, it is.
Um, right. So it's
Beautiful ballpark too.
35% 35% reduction. So yeah, here in 2021, 44% for left-handed hitters. Yeah, the park you play in matters a lot. I just think that using the 1-year averages, you want the park to be a factor. There's no perfect way to, because some of the park factors are sometimes you can have more or less home runs based on just who was your roster and if they were home run hitters. But I think the 3-year smooths out the ballpark factors more than the 1 year. And my goal is to eventually, Seamheads has all the data. Go and look at the 3-year stuff and create another park file that uses 3 years.
So Steve, that
Um,
brings up a question since we do have a Q and A thing too as well, and this is
yeah.
one for me. So I've been slow in my Egypt questions, but
Hmm.
all right. So once this is set up, and again, please take your time. I know it's a real labor of love for you, and it's a lot of work. So let's just set up a hypothetical, right? Because we know that year factors and park factors play such a huge role, and I don't care if you're doing a season replay, whatever you're doing, right? It's right. So we
Yep.
want to normalize to an era, right? Because you or to a year, which you're the one that saved the Ned McGreevy League. Thank you, because we had Willie Keeler striking out all over the place, and you were able to ascertain why. So hypothetically, when approaching this Negro League uh, file or whatever, how 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 are you going to make the decision whether how do trying to put this, all right? So that's going to show these players at their best, but still be realistic because you're not only going to be normalizing to a year, but we're going to be using park effects as well. So how do you balance all that if that question makes any sense at all?
Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out. So now we're going to go to another rabbit hole. I pulled up the era information that Action has, right? So you can see that if we're looking at 19, let's go to one of the high batting average years, right? What are we looking at? 1930, right?
And NV,
American
there's
League.
never such thing as too
Yeah.
many questions. So
So if
don't.
anybody wants this data, you go to Baseball Reference and just look at the league that year, and you can just divide it. It's per 1,000 at bats, which means the league batting average in 1930 in the National was 303.5. In the American, it was 287. So you're seeing the style of play here, right? Like how many, um, the ratio. Like look at this: walks and strikes are almost dead even. In that year. American League, almost the same, right? So the AL and National League are pretty close. Let me pull up my ERA file and see if I can answer your question, Beatles. Like, I'm still going to figure out where we have to ask ourselves if we've got a league, where do you want to play the league? You know what I mean? What era do you want to
Right.
play it? And here's where I want more options that don't exist
Hmm.
now. So right now, if we go into play a league, I have to pick a year and a league, right? So I have to say, if we create a league, I have to tell it I want 1938 national. For example, Ned McGreevy right now is playing in this era, 1900,
1900. Right.
not American. Well, there is no
National.
American data that year, so
Right.
they just use national for it, right? But 1901, here's National League, right? 266. It's going to be a little more in 1900. So you're playing in this era. If you
Right.
picked 1901, look at the hits go down. Watch each year the
Mm.
batting
Well, you
average
correct
drop.
that because remember, we picked 1906, and that
Okay.
was why Willie Keeler was doing like
So
awesome.
let's look at that. 1906, 244 average. We go to 1900. So you're what? You're 35 points higher in batting average by moving it
Right.
to the earlier year. You're going to see more offense, right? Now, subsequently, you're going to see a higher ERA than
Mhm.
1906, right? A lot less.
Right.
So you're probably seeing more offense now, setting your league to this
Oh
style of
yeah.
play.
Yep.
Um, but here's what begs the question: as I get down all these rabbit holes here. Baseball nerd. I'm going to pull up my era file I've been working on. So here's another
Uh-oh.
project I got. So I have taken all of these down here are known. This is era data. So if we go to your National League here, 1900, you'll see there's that 276.1, right? Um, what I've done is I've applied the same 3-year rolling average that I did with that people do with ballparks because I'm like, if you're gonna like regress that for a smoother thing, why not do the same with era and take the year before it and after to come up with a general era? And then I averaged all of these out so that now I have decade numbers. So what I want to do in the game, if you look, the game has they have a Negro. So for these 1900 seasons, let's take a look at a known Negro League season. Here's 1921 National, American, Negro League. And but see what Dave's done? Now when you create a player, it's based on a 70 game thing. So if you ran an auto generate ratings, it'll generate durability ratings based on 70 games. So Action has built in for all of their seasons an actual league for the Negro League that you can set the era to, which is what you need. You wouldn't want to create Negro League and then put them in a National or American League environment, right?
Right.
If you're
Right.
playing that season. Now, if you want to do a what if for a draft league, you've got to pick where you're going to play them. So here's my goal. I have all of these things open, right? I want to have different leagues to pick to play the game in. And here's what I mean by that. I want to have an option to play 1970s baseball, not have to pick one year. Because if I pick a year, I got to pick American, National. No, I want to have one year. So if you look at my file here, I was probably tiny. I can now go over to the American League and have 1900 to 1909. This is the average of all the eras. So for your league, right, you could set it to 1900 to 1919. Actually, if you set it, or you could come up with a, hey, I want to have an era that is dead ball, and you could grab all the information from all four of these, average it, and then go into the game under there and create. It's warning me you're going to make some mistakes and do stuff, and I could go over here and create it, and I could call it 1900 to 1919. Save it. So now when I go in and I want to play with data, okay, I've got 1900 to 1919 there, right? And then I can put that specific era data in. Now, I'll save my changes. Yes. Okay. Now when I go to rules and I want to set up my league, like when we run the league, where's my info, general, right? I can set that up, right? Where is it? This is the basic one. Yes. Here's what I'm going to have to do. Now I know. So I could base a player's years not on a specific year. Let's go to this way. Grab Pop Lloyd.
Black Hannes Wagner.
So
When
when I go,
Wagner heard about that, he said he was honored by the comparison.
yeah. So when I set up the year, the league right here, um, the base league itself, I've picked national. I can go over here and pick Negro League. Boom. Now I've signed this team to that Negro League as the base league. So I'm playing around with a lot of the era stuff to have options. The other tricky thing, if we want to open up a can of worms, is having multiple iterations to be able to change the ballpark file to use 3 year versus 1 year.
This game is just insane, isn't it? It's insane.
So fun stuff with numbers there.
Insane.
Fun stuff
MV
with
had a
that.
question way back, and I don't know if you saw it. And MV, please, you don't have to say it's your last question. You promise. Be here as long as Steve can be here. So MV asks back here, Steve, and you may have answered this, but maybe it needs a little bit of clarification. So he asks, the neutralized stats for stolen bases are interesting. In my mind, or myth, I was expecting to see more stolen bases. Very, very interesting. So if Cool Papa Bell played earlier in dead ball, it begs me a question. What would he steal?
Yeah, and and if you take him to a specific year, you would see that. But it would also they would look at what his ratio was for stolen bases for that era. Let's take a look at. Let's see the difference in there. So let's take a look right within the game as he's built in. Let's go to 1921. The Negro League, let's take a look at stolen bases. You got 33.3 per 1,000 at bats, okay? If you look at American League, it's a lot less, okay? It's almost half. So if you look at the Negro League, the style of play, they're stealing 33 out of 100, and it cuts in half if you're looking at the same year in the National League. So if we're bringing them into that environment, they're going to get their attempts would be cut in half because they're going to be playing the same style.
And I think what's important, right, to touch on that is that Buck O'Neill had commented that everybody was like blown away by Jackie Robinson's style of baseball, and he said Jackie was just bringing Negro League baseball to the majors.
Yes.
So I mean that whole style. So one of the other reasons I love Negro League baseball, certainly foremost because these players, as Big Clue has been talking about in the chat, they deserve, and they deserve above all to be remembered. Is that the Negro Leagues didn't make that same transition that you had in the white major leagues of going from dead ball into right Babe Ruth and the lively ball. They what they did is they brilliantly combined both. So even when you were in later Negro League baseball before they pretty much ended in the late 40s, early 50s actually, because Hank Aaron played in the Negro Leagues, believe it or not. Right, you had small ball and power ball combined, which one of the things I love about Negro League baseball is you're almost getting the complete all-in-one thing. One of the closest major league teams I can think of that were like that were the Cardinals of the 1930s. They had a great mix of power and speed and terrific pitching. You
Yeah.
had this all the way through Negro Leagues, and as Big Clue said, MLB denied us seeing these great players, and I like what he says here. It's like he read my mind. That we can quote unquote correct that now in these sims, and I
Hmm.
think that's beautiful. That is
Well,
beautiful.
and then there's another factor. We can say the equivalency, but let's say he comes over. Let's say he's over in the American League. Who says he couldn't stand out and kind of buck the style and steal more,
Sure.
right? Um,
Hmm.
so you can take as a manager in the game and try to steal him more, but his same kind of success rate would come over. But look at the Negro leagues themselves. Early on, they're pretty much matching. Like when we come over to Major League, look, if, in 1911, the Negro Leagues 41% stolen or 41 stolen bases, National League's 41, Americans 41.6. They're almost spot on. They're playing the same style.
Hmm.
So you'll watch, here's Negro League year by year. Look, 29 30s, everything's consistent. Then all of a sudden, 19, 20, 21, 22, it starts coming back down. 20, 21, 22, they were stealing like crazy. So even in their own context,
Hmm.
those years stood out.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Because there was a different style that was happening there. And then look at the style cool off. And you know what's happening right here? Just like with Major League Baseball, people are starting to watch when the stolen bases go right here. Watch how that corresponds with the home run rate.
But I guess the point is the stolen
Now look at
base
the
was
home
still
run
very
rate
much
go.
right, but it was still very much a viable strategy in Negro League baseball, even into the 40s when in the weight majors it was. I mean, yeah, long ball would dominate everywhere, but stolen bases that station to station baseball.
Well, let's take a
So
look. What is it? So we see it 22 in 1938, and look, it's
mhm,
only 12 in the national and 8 in the national, right? So you're looking at um, it's not, I won't say double, but it's 70% higher even during the eras where it was on the decline, stolen bases. But you'll always see like stolen bases tend to go down when the home run rate goes up.
oh, absolutely,
But anyway,
absolutely.
this is just fun if you ever go into the, you don't want to get in here and change things if you're going crazy, but this is just a great way to go in here and examine some of the leagues. I happen to put it on a sheet just so because I was really thinking I want to have an option to go in here. And because right now, if you play a league, and I've got to figure out how to, oh yeah, let's get out of here. Here, if you go to play a league, I have to tell it where we're going to play. Okay. What is the league era? Well, I can use cross era historical, which is they just took every era in the database and averaged it. That's all that is. And that's according to, I think, the action manual, right? Or I can say, this is the one I like to standard batter average. So when the batter and pitcher face each other, if the batter is 1922 Fenway Park and the pitcher is 1997 Camden Yards, it takes the era and the data for that. Well, it takes the era data and it averages the two out. So, like if one had where they averaged 20 home runs and the other one came from a league where they only averaged 8, well, guess what? That matchup is going to base that on 14. It's going to average the two. Then it's going to look at the ballpark factors to determine the outcome. That's what it does. This is so.
Steve,
This is what you should do when you do a season replay because they're all coming from the same season. So this is what makes sense. But if you wanted to base it on historical average, but if you want to play it like if we play this league, Negro League, and we want to play it modern, we can say, hey, we like 1970, but I have to choose is it 1970 American or national, right? So
mhm.
very important with the style. This sets your league to the style. This is the universe you're going to move them to, if that makes sense.
Would it be possible, Steve? And like I said, being in mind, please take your time in this entire file. But as you've been talking about, I just thought of something. Would there be a possibility? I mean, if it wouldn't rush you too much, because every year, like so, the big event in Negro League was baseball was not the World Series, the Negro League World Series. It was the All Star Game, right? So, and every year it was played at Comiskey Park, and it would be fun if we could just get two teams sometime, even by the end of February for Black History Month, put it in Comiskey Park, like 1930s, and do an All-Star game. Like just because you have already just with this one team, so many of the shall I say usual suspects. Would that be something? Do you think we could maybe realize by the end of February? There'd just be two teams. Facing off at Comiskey Park in the 1930s for
Oh,
a Negro League All Star game. Could we do that?
extremely doable, extremely doable. As you can see right now, I've got 16 batters done, right? That we could formulate and play a game. I still need to get over to the pitching, using the
Right.
MLBs on the pitching and start creating some of the pitchers. And then some of these people are rated for positional players and as positional players and pitchers. So yeah, very doable
That
in
would
February to be able to
easy.
have two teams worth here, especially
Oh
because
yeah.
I'm working
Wow.
backwards
Thank you.
off of WAR. So if I as I go into here and what am I going to pick up? Okay, here we go. We're looking at it right here. I can go here, wins above replacement career. And this is a great list to kind of work backwards from to make sure you're getting the career war leaders. And I'm kind of going down this list and building these people in priority. So that way I'm starting with the more well-known and better players and then working my way all the way down this list. That's kind of my priority is how I'm going to build. Cool. What other questions we got here? Yeah, hopefully that explains some good stuff about eras and all that jazz, I guess.
The yeah, there's so much going on here that but one of the reasons why I'd ask Steve if he would do this to talk about this is because you guys are, I mean, we've got all kinds of baseball scholars in here. Big Clue just hitting us with a big this known this fact about the All-Star game, um, is the importance of this league and how I think this really is ultimately going to transcend gaming because now, right, with as accurate as the Action PC baseball engine is, and maybe this is going to push other companies to do something I don't know, but that we can finally answer some questions, maybe not definitively, but at least in such a way that we can say, okay, now we do have a metric by which we don't just have to conjecture. We can actually see, okay, there's Martin Diego, right? God, who did it all,
Yep.
right? Or how would Cool Papa Bell do today? How
Let's
would
take
he
a
do
look at
today?
Cool Papa
We
here.
can do that, and with those major league equivalencies, and again, Big Clue coming through
No.
big time for that,
Is
and Steve's
anybody?
wizardry.
I'm going to
Nobody
call it.
can do this.
I'm
Amazing.
going to pull
I'm
up Cool
sorry.
Papa Bell, and I just realized, you know why I'm not showing the pictures? Because I'm in the wrong league. I'm in my backup league because I'm over here screwing around creating players. So let's just go back to the regular leagues, boom, because that's where all my folders are, or pictures are in that folder. And let's pull up Cool Papa. There he is. Love it.
I just wonder if the Negro League baseball, right? Because I'm all about wanting to get like big people out there, guys, to know about this file. And it just occurred to me, I think the Negro League Baseball Hall of Fame would be super interested in this kind of project, even just to let them know it exists. So I think I'm going to write a letter to them and not giving myself any credit, but certainly talking about you guys have, joined forces and Steve, what you're doing here, I think they would love it. I think they would
Yeah,
love it.
it's. I can
People
tell
need
you.
to
I don't
know
know if
about this,
anybody's.
guys. This isn't just a game file to me.
I
This is
know
so much
people
more.
have done maybe some home brews back for Diamond Mine back years ago. I remember. I don't, and I know Action. I do know there was a person on the Action forums. I can't remember who it was now. I looked at a thread yesterday that I didn't even know was out there, and he had done some work a couple years ago creating the seasons that Action finally went and did. And I know he reached out to Action PC and said, "Hey, I'm working on these seasons," and they're like, "Hey, we plan to do them too. Knock yourself out." Like, they were, and I'm not trying to replicate seasons they already have, but I even know they gave permission for one of these guys to, hey, go do your 1921, your homebrew, because they're going to do their own ratings and their own calculation. So as I look at this, I don't know if there's anybody that I'm aware of that's doing the same thing. My knowledge, somebody was trying to recreate actual specific seasons from the Negro Leagues, and
Right. There's
1922
nothing
or
like this.
1934. So I know Diamond Mine Baseball has something similar. I've just chosen that, and I don't know what, because I've gone back and forth with 5 years, 7 years, six straight, whatever. Pick your poison. I've just felt like, hey, I'm going to grab their three best, and I'm going to stick with that theme because it's a real good peak, and I'm going to just carry that on to the major leaguers as well, so that I have something that can coexist together and make sense to me, right? And there's other people out there that maybe approach this and might come up with their own weighting using the MLEs or whatever system they want. Um, there's no right or wrong with this. This is all make believe, right? This didn't happen. We're trying to make our best educated guess. So I enjoy doing
Well,
those kind of projects. So
huge praise here from a major baseball scholar, and I'll read it to you, my man. He says Steve Tate, and Big Clue is saying this. He says Steve Tate, in all honesty, what you're doing is the gold standard for Negro League conversions to a sim. You're going the extra mile, sir. A big hat tip to you. That is high praise coming from
well,
quite a scholar
I,
as Big Clue, and you really are, Steve. You're a little bit, maybe a little bit, kind of like, you, man. Take that tip of the hat from all of us. It
no,
is what you're
I
doing.
do
There's nothing like it. Yeah.
I do appreciate it because to me I love the stats like everybody, like being a kid looking at Macmillan Encyclopedia and all that. But I would look at these like these MLEs and immediately think, okay, what can I do with this? Like how can I get into a sim and like actually play them and let them compete against each other? And so that's what makes gets me excited versus for other people like the actual getting that season built with as much quality as they can is another thing, right? Like there's some people that are about the seasons, like recreating.
Hmm.
I know there's been in the past with action like the PCL league, some people put in a lot of work on recreating those leagues and all that.
Yes, they
um,
did.
but right now my cup of tea seems to be these slices, right? We're combining years for like peaks or slices, whatever we're going to call them, and building a universe where we can use them. And I see this as just a great standalone draft league. But ultimately, when I'm done, how cool to have that
Hmm.
with like an all-time greats where we could you just get there and draft, and we don't
God, I
think
can't
twice.
wait.
You just think,
I
hey, I
can't
can draft
wait.
Don Drysdale and Cool Papa Bell. You know what I mean on the same team. So to me, that's for me, that's what energizes me is like an end product that
Hmm.
ability would be there.
Yeah, if he had signed Charlie Grant, or as you know, Big Clue, right? They founded John McGraw's effects after he died. He kept a list of Negro League players that he wished he could have signed.
And he's bringing up a great point, even on a season. So like, let's fire one up. We got 1908 here, and I'm like you, Beatles. I'll just get here talking, and then we'll just keep pulling up rosters. We're both the same with that, right?
Yes,
Let's go
yes.
look at 1908. I have
So, guys,
1908.
pulling that up honestly. So I've been doing what I've been doing with the 5-year slices. These two bloody great files is I'll play some exhibition games. I haven't decided what I want to do with them yet, but I will just sit here and just look at the rosters and just I'm mesmerized, and it's just amazing. And it's like I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I mean, I just geek out on these stats. I mean, there's times I will pick up, and I know we have baseball reference, but I will pick up the very final ever edition of Total Baseball that I have here, 2,500 in hernia-inducing pages, and I will just start flipping through the player and pitcher registers, and I'm just as mesmerized as I was as a kid looking at baseball cards as I'm as mesmerized right now looking at all of these numbers on this screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I, and here's 1908. I pulled up, and somebody's talking about 1908 season. Come over here to McGraw, right? And let's pick up New York National. Bring somebody in. This is the cool thing about the game. I'm saying, hey, I'm going to do 1908. I can do as played lineups. And I saw Ron Juckett had a thing yesterday I watched where he was kind of explaining his theory on why he likes them, and other people like to kind of manage their own. But you got the options, do
Right.
an as played lineup. Or you could come in here and say, "Hey, I want to come in here and use some of these roster tools, and I want to trade a player, or I want to, you know,
And don't
over
forget
here,
the
move. I
alternate
want to move
reality
multiple
mode.
players right here."
Don't forget the alternate reality mode too for season replays in
Oh yeah,
fantasy baseball so that you don't know what you're going to get, which is really awesome.
yeah. Hey,
You guys should mess with that,
should
right?
I take about 2 minutes and show you what I found on Encyclopedia?
Absolutely. Big clue really quickly, if I can just this could help you watch chat. This is another thing to think of. From 1901 to 1960s, there were only 16 starting jobs in the majors at each fielding position. How many of those guys would have been stuck in the minors if blacks could play? Exactly, which is another reason why this is not only just this league in situ, right, the Negro League, but then when this finally can be out and populate all-time great files. But even so, these teams that you're creating now, Steve, Also, we can pop in anywhere, and you've just created another multiverse here. So for every Josh Gibson or
Yep.
Oscar Charleston, in a given year, that's a Billy Urbanski or Cookie Lavagetto who would be stuck in Pacific Coast League.
Oh, well,
Absolutely.
and then other
Vladimir
people
Gueranville would have never made it to the
and
majors.
other minor leaguers that maybe had brief appearances in the majors would get bumped down a grade too, because you would have Negro League players that would also be occupying some of those triple, those.
Kind of like Christy Mathewson got bumped. Huh? How about
Oh yeah,
that
he
one?
got bumped from
We didn't
there.
even tell him that. We didn't even tell them
So
that.
here's what I do to test the encyclopedia the other day. I called it
Oh
ENC
yeah.
test. So what I did is these are my standard 1946 season. I opened up 46 and let the computer run an autoplay, as played lineups, and same thing with 47. Okay. So I ran these two seasons. So here's 1946, and it's going to show us replay stats. Let's see. Oh, Boston won. Okay. George Kell leading the league in average, right? So we can see some of the games. I auto played this whole thing, let the computer do it, and ran two seasons in a row. So now with the encyclopedia, let's take a look at somebody like Williams. So he was on the team both years there.
Okay.
So let me so let's take a look at what we've got here. So look at all this is a replay from 1946, right? Okay. Now let's go to his history. Guess what? Now Ted Williams' history shows both years that I've simmed for him. And the reason it does that is because I've pointed it to which encyclopedia I save those
So that's what, because the encyclopedia made no sense to me.
in. So you
Brilliant.
can go in and set up your encyclopedia. I just call it Encyclopedia One, and we can take a look at it. But this is what it does for you. If you wanted to start Ted Williams in what 1930 whatever 7 or whatever, and do replays of all those years, then you could go into
39.
individual year, but you go over history and it would give you a glimpse on his card without even having to go into the encyclopedia, right?
Oh
you would
wow.
you would get a glimpse on all the players as to those replays stats. So to me, that's the only thing I've ever used in years ago the encyclopedia for, and I thought it was really cool to kind of have a
Hmm.
history card for them. But that's what you'd
That
see
is
here.
cool.
Same thing
Okay.
with who else would have been. Let's take a look at George Kell here. As you can see, I have no patience. What the heck? What am I missing down here? I've got a window or something open here. Just go into Detroit. Pull up somebody. How about Hank Greenberg? Oh, here's George
There
Kell.
you go. Hammer and Hank.
So George Kell, he's around in 46. So that we're in 1946, right? Oh, wow. And I did my 47 replay. Let's look at his history. There it is, showing what he did in 46 in your replay and what he did in 47. Now, oh, I'm showing. Now look at this. Watch this. This was his real line. I forgot. Replay. Boom. There's the replay right here. Real lines and then what he did in the replay. That's what, to me, that's is where the encyclopedia is useful to me. I'm not interested in going into my simmed stat encyclopedia and looking at it inside of itself. I think it's cool to, like, if you're doing a replay over successive seasons like this, or starting at a year and moving your way up, that you can go and look at it at the cards. Just my opinion. So let's take a look at how realistic. Here's what I hear all the time. I don't know why everybody thinks strat automatically by default. They just stipulate that it's the most accurate. I don't even know what that means in the sim world. It's the most accurate. How do you even define that? I mean, is it a reasonable? Um, does it generate wonky results? That would suck. But I don't know where people try to claim one engine or. Um, I think Action does a great job. I've never had an issue with it, and let's take a look at why. So I ran those two auto plays, and I used as played lineups. Let's take a look at Ted Williams. Okay, here's his history. Here's his history in the two lineups. So let's look at his real history here. Let's look at some lines. He averaged for those 2 years real 343 with what 70 homers. Let's take a look at his replay. 340, 70 homers.
Yeah, take that strat. Don't take it personally, Strat players, but you make
No,
a
I mean,
right. I
let's
mean, it's not about you guys, but how can you say it's the most accurate when
look at
this is
let's
dead
look at
on?
Rudy York. Okay, real stats. Okay, a lot depends on how you use him, right? So he split teams here.
Yeah.
So 304 games, 255 with 38 homers. Replay 246 with 43. I mean, come on. What, if he's hitting twice as many in the same number of games, then you've got an engine that's jacked up. But it's six of this, half dozen of the other. If you've got a decent engine, they're all using some of the basic breakdown is just how much, you know,
And
you're
they
you're
forget the
waiting.
human factor too, right? Because
Yeah,
you can't take a cards and dice game. We talked about this yesterday. I don't care. You could have every season in baseball, or just take one season. You're not going to play it, right? Because I mean, when these things are tested by, whether it's out of the park, action PC, whatever, they are running thousands of games because they're testing the accuracy of your engine. But
yeah,
when you do a season replay, number one, come on, what are the odds? It's like all the you get an infinite number of monkeys in a room, and one of them is going to type out right Hamlet or what have you.
yeah,
But but a season is never going to play out exactly the same, and then you have the human variation, right? Unless you can manage exactly as say Earl Weaver, but you're still not going to get that. So as soon as that's in there, you've already right? You've already influenced it. I guess what archaeologists or what anthropologists called enculturation, right? And the theory is that you can never actually see. And this pertains to baseball. So give me a second here, guys, in this analogy, please. So when they first discover a people, whether it's in the deep in the rainforest or whatever, as soon as those people being observe the anthropologists, they're gonna change how they do things. So anthropologists understand that you never actually get to see um, a society as it is pristine. That's why Margaret Mead's kind of way of doing anthropology was a stepping stone. Right. But in the same here, when you're doing a replay, even if you're chucking cards and dice, you're making judgment calls, right? So you're playing the offensive team and you don't have an AI to manage against, all right? And you want to steal, well, you also have to be fair. And would the defensive team be looking steal? Stuff like that. So you're already influencing it, plus the fact that how many years would it take to do even 1,000 games? 1,000 cards and dice games to test the accuracy of the engine that way. I mean, you could do it other ways, but when you make that assertion that it's the most accurate, I think you're just buying into the grape Kool-Aid branding of Stratomatic. And I'm done with that sermon. Sorry about that. They would start passing the legislation. That's called the United States Congress, isn't it? Steve, you still with us, man? Steve's talking, can't hear him. Maybe Steve muted me. Steve? Am I muted? I'm not muted. Hmm. Steve may have been called away for his dogs. No. So we could sing till Steve comes back or something. I don't know. So, well, I could ask because Big Clue wanted to know. No, we cannot hear you, Steve. That's why I'm babbling on, my friend. Cannot hear you at all. Can anybody hear Steve? Because I looked, my headphones are fine and yada yada yada. Can you guys hear? I'm gonna unmute and see.
can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, great.
I could, yeah, I could not hear you before. That's why I was just babbling on.
Something, I might have hit a button on the side of my headset or something crazy. I'm over
Okay.
here talking, and I think
I thought
anybody
you
could
were
hear me.
away from keyboard taking care of
No.
your dogs. And I was just going to ask people here just really quickly how many people would be interested in being part of the Negro League thing, draft league.
Yes. Let's
Now that you're
get
back,
uh,
I
let's
don't
get
have
the
to ask that.
interest. And again, I'm just showing another card here from the replay. Look at his real numbers. DiMaggio, 45 homers over those 2 years, 303 average, and then we go to replay, 46 with 300. Come on. And I'm not saying any other sim is inaccurate. I just find it like
Right.
most of these
Well,
sims, I trust that Stat's going to produce realistic results. I trust APBA
right.
is going to produce realistic results. If the games didn't,
Mhm.
people would throw them away. Nobody's going to play a
Exactly.
game where in the 1946 season, Joe DiMaggio in 570 at bats hits 309, and then in your replay he hits 223 in the same number of
Out of
at
the
bats.
park
You'd
baseball
throw it
has a
away.
function too. Out of the park has a little known function that again, you have to take out the human thing. But if you just replay a season, what you can do is through the season out of the park baseball. I forget where the thing is in the gazillion menu choices in out of the park baseball that will track your replay, and it's pretty damned accurate as well. And that game gets hate. I think because it's got pretty graphics, and there are some guys out there that won't touch it because it's pretty. But it's pretty damned accurate, and there are people that say it's crap for replays. Just go to that function, and it will show you otherwise. But Action PC, yeah, I mean, come on. And again, just is there anybody out there in the community that's done this with Strat PC, done these comparisons?
Yeah.
I
And
don't
I'm
know.
not knocking. I got away from Strat years and years ago when we played because they didn't card everybody for whatever reason. That's just their approach, and that pissed me off. So
Yeah, they want more money.
and yeah, and it's like no. But yeah, but I mean, what they're producing, they're looking at how much of a pitcher versus the batter, and here's what happened in the season. I mean, it's all they're all basically doing their version of the same kind of thing. But to declare that, oh my gosh, this one's so much more realistic, yeah, it's complete nonsense. Now, um, they're it's complete. I would say I've never seen or known anybody be able to show any data that shows some game out there, one of these major games, is producing super goofy results. If they do, it's usually there's an error with the file. Don't
Yep.
eliminate operator error because, as I learned in my job, that's usually the first place to start. Or you get into settings, and with action, there's so many settings you can tweak. It's a double-edged sword, right? It's like you can tweak this to your liking, but then
Yep.
if you don't, you know what I mean, or you do it wrong, or you don't spend the time to dig in, which I'm guilty of many times. Um, that's on you. I mean, it's not a flaw in the game. I think Action has done the best. I don't think anybody can touch them in the flexibility they provide for you to tweak stuff, fully edit, complete homebrews easily, right? I don't have to have a special disk to do a homebrew. I just go into the game and edit anything I want or create
Yep.
whatever I want. I don't know anybody else that does it. And they don't pay me to do anything. Action, I don't get anything out of it. I'm just saying it's so flexible because of that. Now, for some people that want to just run a replay out of the box, they're like, well, how do I do it? It's tough, but they still do this. You go under rules and you say, well, I don't know what all these rules means. So they give you an option up front to say, quick setup. Hey, I want to do as played. Good. I hit as played. I'll let it run. Oh, I want to include real call ups and injuries. Boom, hit that button. Oh, I don't want to do that. I just want to do major. So they've even tried to give you a sheet to get the basic setup so that you don't have to get into as much detail. But you're never going to make everybody happy. So
No.
I love it. I'm like a buffet guy. I love having more options, and then I'll go pick what I want. But for some
Yep.
people, they don't want that. It's overwhelming for them, and I get it. But I just love the flexibility. But yeah, I don't buy into this. APBA wouldn't be around if they created goofy results that nobody could rely on. Strat wouldn't be around. So they've all got sturdy, you know, simulation engines that are providing what I call in the realm of realistic replays for seasons. Everybody can do that.
Right. Forever remain 90 has a question for you, Steve. He says, "Can you show us how did you set up the encyclopedia if you
Yeah,
ever
I'll
have
take a look
time?"
at this.
I don't know
Yeah,
what your time's like, but
time's fine. And then we've got time. We are going to do a game, aren't we?
if you're up for it,
You got it,
sure.
man.
All right.
Okay, remind me, where do I find this dang thing? Because I never go in here. Set
Under
up.
encyclopedia. Oh, you have to do it from the setup. You mean, yeah? Because I thought you could do it from the big red button that says encyclopedia to set it up,
Oh, let's just do it.
right? Isn't that where you want to go? Yep, that one. Can't you set it up from there?
There you go. So I'm using Encyclopedia One. I could name it, but I didn't, right? And I'm including 2 seasons with it, all two. And it's looking at all the replays I've done, and it knows that I just did these two. So what do I want to include in my encyclopedia? And I chose I want to include those two that I did replays on. Click both of them, and there you go. And now I have an encyclopedia where I can go look at team records, player records, and all that. Now, what I did notice is I have a widescreen monitor here. See how these are showing wonky?
Hmm.
I need to let headquarters know about this because I had that same issue on some other reports, and it has to do with some monitor settings, and it might need a little tweaking. But I can go over here and compress. I don't even know what the heck all this stuff is, right? Add leagues to folders. If I've run stuff, I can go in here and say, hey, I want to add this league. Here's the present ones in my encyclopedia. I can say, hey, wait a minute. Here's a replay I did. I'm going to go click on this and bring that in, right? That's why I recommend when you run a replay, if I go to the 40s, I called it encyclopedia test. I have my regular 1947 file. I always make a copy of the file and then like call it
Hmm.
replay or whatever, and then that's the one I play around with. That way, I always keep it pure. That original one, right? It's just a tip I do.
Nice.
So very easy. You could come in here and build your encyclopedia from all kinds of, like if you're doing Ned McGreevy year after year, you could just
Hmm.
come here and say, oh, I have Ned McGreevy year one, year two, and you click, 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 and then they show up over here. And then you can create your present encyclopedia, right? And look how many you can have here. I think there's 50. So you could come in here and give it, its own name or whatever if you wanted to have different. You could have an encyclopedia for Ned McGreevy years or Negro League replay years, or you could say Ted Williams replay, where I'm going to start in 1937 or 38. I forget when he came in and do all of his stuff.
39.
Yeah, 39.
39. Yep.
There you go. So it's really pretty easy to get set up in here. Now we've got the 2 years in here, right? Encyclopedia run. I've got all these two in here. So now we can look at team stats. And this is what, gosh, I can't expand this. Maybe I can't. It says I can, but
Dave Cook's all about value for the money, that's for sure.
yeah, and I'm gonna have to let him see this.
Everything's so feature rich.
It's the way I have my screen set up over here that's not displaying this correctly, right? Um, let's take a look at these. Here we go. Player records. So in those 2 seasons, let's see what happened. There you go. So it's combining it, right? So you got Bob Feller. Oh no, it's not.
So
352 in one
stats
year.
aren't saved in exhibitions, MV.
Mm-mm.
And the game will tell you that exhibitions are just you put any two teams together and play them. It
Yep.
doesn't save those stats.
Yeah, so here we
Fields.
go. So you got player fielding, like games at position. So what it's done, so now the more years you would add, you'd have your own, you could come in here and look at your record book. So if you're running a league, like a lot of people will run a draft league. I used to be in one years ago. Let's say you start in 1970, they run a draft, and then they go year by year, right? You could have all of your subsequent years in here, and you've got your league record book basically. You could name the encyclopedia, you know, Steve's Replay League, and there you go. Really not that difficult, and it has the same searching function as the database does. If you notice that Beatles down here, where you could
Hmm.
type for a player. Like let's take a look. I want to see Williams.
Hmm.
Let's take a look. Hit refresh here. Oh, and it'll just go into the record book on this page and just see where Ted Williams is at. So this is very similar to like that kind of, is it the database or the draft screen where you've got some ability to filter down here.
Right. It's incredible.
Career leaders, which, so it's like this will combine both years if we're looking at career leaders probably.
So when I look for baseball games to like dive into and buy, everything that there is for it, this is just, and I'm still learning so much about the man. I'm like total rookie compared to you, Steve. But this is why I have bought just about everything for this game. It just you can do it all, and it's so deep, it's so robust,
Look
it's
what
so
Pib just,
yeah,
welcome to the, what do you call this? Just the on and on Steve and Beatles show. That's
right.
a great point because he went in 1876 and just said, "Hey, I'm going to replay all the seasons or whatever, and then keep maintain your own encyclopedia that you could compare against the real records."
Wow,
I
that's
so
awesome,
it's
Pib.
and here's what but you could have that one and name it a certain project, right? And then you could have the one for the league you're in or some other projects. It's really cool. And under edit up here, This is where we give it a name. We'll just call it, call it 1946 on and hit save. Boom.
It's
So it's
incredible.
interesting, right? And it's something I don't really mess with a lot, but I do when you do the replay. I do think it's cool that um, you can go in there and find the players in that replay and quickly on their card. If you're going year to year, I think this is really cool to go look at their history, and there it is. To me, that's cool because and then down here you can just point it to which history. Like I'm looking at Hal Wagner, but maybe Hal Wagner's also in another league over here. I could point him to that, like a draft league or whatever, and I could see his history there. So this is a really powerful tab right here.
So the only thing left for this game besides an Ernie Harwell type announcer is I wanted to make orange juice for me in the morning, and I think we'll be ready to rock.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you know what I've got. You know what how we do here. We've got I call it the Beatles head-to-head file. So I again,
Here we go.
the reason I did this is the other file is so big, and what I realized is if you, while you're selecting, go to different files, the uniforms up at the top only show the home team. So this should show both really well. And you can see here, um, you modify this Detroit team here. I'm just going to put the whole year in there. You can see players there. And guess what? We got players.
Nice. I've never messed around with uniforms, not because I don't know how. But they look so cool now. It's like maybe I should start doing that.
Yes, yes, yes. And then remember the team you didn't have. I've got those taken care of now. That you wanted the early Pittsburgh, and I grabbed the wrong one for you. But I've got picture files for all of those too.
Oh, awesome.
These are a little bit more
Still
difficult to
waiting for those
find.
1988 Dodgers. Hint, hint. But
Uh,
you're busy with this stuff, so
that goes way on the back burner. Plus, when I crunch the numbers,
exactly,
in my
exactly.
opinion, other than Hershot, they got great pitching. Everybody horrible batting, in my
I
opinion.
know, but it was just no, but that's okay because I can always do the just you know 1988 Dodgers and
Yes,
A's and just replay the game just for shits and giggles.
maybe
No
in
problem.
between breaks on Negro League, I will do that for you, but we'll see.
So you guys up for a game? Like head to head here?
Um,
If they are or not. Hopefully.
take a look at. Oh, I see you are on Hamachi. You know how to find my IP
Oh yeah,
address up there, don't you?
I gotta fire up Hamachi. Yeah, I knew there was something I was forgetting
Arnold
about.
Hunter says yes. Hey, Arnold. I got to respond back to Arnold. I got a nice note from him. I was just checked earlier, a message from Arnold on, I think kind of thanking me for getting him excited and pumped up
That's
about
awesome.
playing some of these games.
Sweet. All right, buddy. There we go. Trying to get your. All right. I don't know if you're. We. I don't know what. I've got Hamachi up here, so but we don't have to rush. Whatever you want to do, man.
Yeah, all right. I will. Can you see my at 25.76 dot? Here we go. Show everybody
Yeah,
else.
I have it. Yeah, I have it
You
right
got that?
there.
Cool. So
So
here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to internet host, and now I'm waiting for a call. And then when you join, put that in, and I'll hear the don't or something
right.
like that.
Yeah, I get to hear the ring, and I think you get to hear me knocking, like as in the Fall of the House of Usher type thing. All right. It's taking a bloody while to do that. Come on, you. All right. So join. Hang on a second. I think it's. I don't know if the thing is hiding somewhere. It shouldn't be, but probably is.
You need to have a nice 34-inch monitor or something like to
Yeah, this
plug
is like
that
a little
sucker
20.
into. Yeah,
Yeah, this is like a
I
20.
love this setup because I've got a 34-inch in front of me, and then right next to it's a 27. They're the same height, so it gives me like my whole
Oh,
desk.
nice. All right. So join game session. Don't know why this window's not popping up for me. It should. Weird. Oh, wait. Do I have to do this? No.
Also, have you downloaded the latest patch that I sent you the link to?
Oh, no. I guess I should do that before
Yeah,
we do this.
yeah. If you go to the action site, download the patch from yesterday. That way we're patched up. That's another pro tip for everybody.
Oh, yeah. And here's the window that keeps popping up on the other side. So it was actually here all the time. Oh, is my face red? All right. Well, we all know I'm an Egypt, so. But I'm a nice Egypt, so. All right. Yeah, let me patch my game here, man. Um, yeah, there we go. Baseball. Somebody should sing something or something.
Patching the game. When you download it, here's another thing I walk people through. We hear this a lot of times too. If you go to my downloads here, I downloaded the latest file here. Every time I download it, I always click on properties. Well, it's not here in what do you call it? Make it safe or whatever. And then all you do is just right click on the application, open up that zip, copy it,
Hmm.
and then you go to
And paste
where,
it.
yeah, you go to right where you're not your DK Sports. That's where all the stuff that should never change based on year, your photos and all that good stuff. I just go right
Right.
into Action PC Baseball 2023
And
and
paste it.
and
So.
bam and paste it. And that's all you do for an update.
Hmm. Oh my God. Okay. So where do you hide it on your? Just looking for the maintenance page or whatever it is. Blimey. Baseball. Oh, I'm already in the baseball section. Does he have a separate page just for the maintenance updates?
Oh,
I
it's
forget.
on the front page.
Um, on the very front page, because I'm in the baseball page by itself. Yeah, there we go. Service updates. Da, 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 da.
Should be the 11th, 111 for
That's
2023.
it. Yep. And guys, so it's really really cool. If you still have older versions, those he keeps those patched up to a certain point too. So Dave's a groovy dude. Right, almost ready. There we go. And let's unzip.
Oh, while we're waiting here, I was going to show them another little advanced move, maybe not so advanced. If I look at where I have my game file here, Action PC 2023, I'll get in on a little secret here. If you're going to mess with parks, right? Here's all these three right here are your parks. So one of them is called park layouts. That's all your markers. So if you have a previous version, there's an import tool to bring them in, or you can copy and paste. If you've done all your markers, this is the file that keeps them. Okay. Parks, that's the actual park data itself, all the geographic stuff, the factors, all that stuff. Parks user, that's the game remembering, like where Beatles will select a certain picture of Wrigley Field to use. Parks user is where it tracks what you've selected as a photo from the ballpark area to use for that team, for example. So if you get a new version and you want the parks to be new because the parks each version will have last year's ballpark figures in it. But these other two, if you've already got the same pictures and you want to keep your layouts and which teams are assigned to, just grab these other two and bring them over, or use the import tool. They have an import tool that'll let you do that, right? So you don't have to reset all that stuff. The other thing I've done here is I took the entire action PC23, which has the executable file in it,
Mhm.
and I made a duplicate copy of it, and I call it Action PC Baseball 2023 Negro Leagues. And why did I do that? Because when I come in here, I can change the exe file to another name. So I basically have two executable files on here. Why do I do that? Because then if I run this one, I can go in and do some of the stuff I'm planning to do with my park data and um, this one, baseball era data. So if I do customized stuff for the Negro League project, for doing the other one, which is, like rolling averages and all that stuff, then I'll come in here and make those changes here so they're not in the normal version of the game. Then when I want to run just a standard action, I can go to this exe. And then when I want to run the specific one with my stuff, it's just an easy way for me to keep it straight versus dragging different park files in and out. So anyway, if this isn't comfortable for you, it makes no sense to you, just completely ignore. But for those of you that maybe want to do some of the things I'm going to do, this is how you get around it. Just completely copy that file and go rename the exe and use that exe and folder and some of the era data for custom stuff because you can't switch
Nice.
era files or park files within the game.
Pip says you know the good tricks. So Robbie, for Federal League, you're gonna have to just Google because there's only one Federal League park left in the United States. So you're gonna have to do some Googling and see what you can find. But uh, I mean, there are some interesting workarounds too that I want to think about first. But you're gonna have to Google them because again, the Federal League was the enemy, so it wasn't like they could play in existing major league parks in 1914 and 1915, and the only one that's left is Wrigley Field
Somebody wants to see Exhibition Park.
for Toronto,
Yeah, I've
Exhibition
got
Stadium.
two, three, four. I've got some of them. So I've got this one. That's kind of ugly. Got this one at
Yeah,
night.
it's a weird looking park.
This one. Yeah. Got this one. I got this one here. Yeah, not really any great ones here. Here's another one. And then I have, um, yeah, that's it. Now, the other thing I could do, let's take a look at it. Bear with me. We're going to get to this game here in a second. But if I go to
Yeah,
my,
sure. I haven't tried to join yet because
okay,
again, once you get boop, boop,
okay,
boop,
hold on.
you
Once
know.
download ballpark models, right? I can go to the ones in OOTP. So do I have exhibition? Okay, so let's take a look. Let's go to Exposition Stadium, and I can grab.
Exhibition, because Exposition Park is going to be the Pirates' old park. But yeah, it should be in there. Exhibition Stadium for Toronto should be in out of the park in that big mod.
Copy it. Okay, then I'm going to go over here to my.
You know, Robbie, what you could do is go into out of the park baseball, go into the designer, just create your own ballparks for Federal League. Just use your imagination, have some fun.
So now here's two that I didn't have because I'll go grab them if I need them from. This is what Out of the Park's using right now with their models. So this is what these would look like. So anytime I want something new, since I've got this massive, I don't know how many gig thing from Out of the Park baseball that Al Red Sox fan turned me on to. Cool. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to our internet because you're all.
Build a park, Robbie. Just build the parks in out of the park baseball.
I'm waiting
It's
for an
fun.
incoming call.
Oh, okay. Finally. Yes. Okay. I didn't know when to do this, man. Here we go.
Oh, I can hear it. Accept. Ooh, now I'm hosting.
Right.
So let's set up an exhibition game. We are gonna pick a nice summer month. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. You know my
Um,
name. Look up the number. Pib 99. Talk about An obscure Beatles tune. Well done. Well done.
And here we go. So I'll declare my pitcher here since I'm the home team.
What
And
park are you using?
we are in Briggs Stadium.
Nice. Right. This was the game that we had started and then it got nuked. I forget why. What happened? Oh, because we were hitting pinch and hit at the same time. Pro tip, don't do that, guys. Right?
Okay, so now let me try me. What have I got here versus righties? Cool. I need a DH. I'll put Cochran at catcher.
So, Robbie, a way around that would be go to that APA. I mean, unless you want to learn to make your own ballparks, but I gave up. It's just not worth it. There's a whole ton of minor league parks on that APA.net site, whatever, all ready to rock. Um, so you could do that. I mean, again, how many of us even remember what the Federal League parks look like now? Nobody. So if you wanted to do that,
We got over here in center
this
field.
dude here, it's this guy's deal. Oh, all right. Well, it won't let me look. Wait me, game.
I'm feeling good. I
Oh yeah.
haven't seen you. I haven't get the okay, so I think I'm ready. I'm gonna roll with
Oh
this.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna hit
me too.
okay.
Same here.
Waiting, and I'm gonna be patient when we're doing the whole. Oh, it says you're ready, so watch out.
Pitching for Detroit 1934 to 38.
All right, and
Number
I
14,
cannot see the
Schoolboy,
chat or
Rowe.
anything, so that
Leading
way I'm
off
not
for
cheating.
STL
There
1931
we
to 35. Third baseman, Pepper, Martin.
You want to call the play-by-play? You want me to shut this auto announcer off there, Beatles?
Play ball!
go. Well, you could pull the chat and see. They're probably tired of hearing my voice.
Yeah, let's do this. See if they want to test that narrator. Last time I played with a little bit, I was pleasantly surprised, and somebody had responded back. I think it was Tape Saturator that they actually followed the instructions at the site and got the extra voices there. I've got the game loaded on my other computer. I still need to test the neural voice and getting it into the registry so that I can do that. That may be even better. I think it is. But
Because I don't have this assigned, I'm looking at Camden Yards, but that's fine. It's a pretty park. I just haven't. I probably don't have that specific park or whatever. It's all good though. So is the narrator going to do all the play-by-play?
yeah, let's let him roll till somebody says, "Hey, I hate it. Shut it off."
Oh, I have to hit play ball on my side, right?
Yeah, you should have the green dot. I'm going to make sure that when mine dot's red here after I've done it, I don't start hitting buttons.
All right.
Welcome to Navin Field. For today's game between STL
I can't hear the
1931 to
narrator,
35 and Detroit 1934 to 38. Dizzy Dean will start for STL 1931 to 35, making his first start of the year.
That's weird that I
Opposed
can't
by
hear the
Schoolboy Rowe
narrator.
for Detroit
That's strange.
1934 to 38. Also making his first start. It's 80 degrees. Wind speed 3 miles per hour. And we have light rain. Martin steps in against Rowe. Rowe with a 1-1.
Here's what we're going to do.
Fastball.
Yeah, because I
Martin
can't hear
cuts.
the narrator at all.
Yeah,
So
that's a great point. I'm going to shut him off. Uh-oh.
He hits a deep fly ball to right. Fox drifting back.
he doesn't like to be shut off.
He's under it. And makes the
Or we
catch near the
crashed.
wall for the out. Left fielder, Joe Medwick.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut him down. Because, yeah, you can't hear it because all the bells and whistles like PhotoPack and all that narrator, you've got your own choices in the speed of the video. You get to
Okay.
uniquely set that for yourself. So let's go to video and sound, shut him off.
Or I could turn him on because that's not going to
Oh,
interfere with the
no, you don't
stream.
want to.
I
Horrible.
don't want to. Oh no, because it's the crap narrator, right?
So yeah, so we'll let you call it.
Oh,
You're the
these
play
poor
by play
guys.
by play guy if
They
you
don't
want.
want to hear me, man. They hear enough of me. All right. Joe Medwick steps in now. Where are we? Oh, he's number 2 hitter. So Pepper Martin did what he did. Yep, okay, flied out to right. Yeah. Medwick hitting 337, 20 home runs, 116 runs batted in. Schoolboy Rowe has the sign. Here's the 0-2. Medwick chopper to short. Miguel or Rogel, however you want to say it, up and over to Hank Greenberg. 6-3 put out, 2 down.
Hey, maybe what we'll do, Beatles, is you call play by play when your team's at bat, and I'll call when mine's at bat.
Brilliant. I like it. I like it.
All
All
right.
right,
Oh,
here. Go ahead, please.
I have to hit the pitch button. I'm sitting here talking.
That helps. That helps, right? All right, 1934 home run champion Ripper Collins steps in. So from Western PA, Collins, first baseman, hitting 323 in the final, 29 home runs and 125 runs batted in. Cochran sets the target for Schoolboy Rowe. Schoolboy Rowe with the leg kick and the 2-1 pitch. Fastball up the middle. Gehringer up with it and on to Greenberg's side. Retired. No runs, no hits, no errors. No one left on. We go to the bottom of the first. The Cardinals nothing and the Tigers coming to bat.
All right. I'm changing the preference setting so you'll have to pitch again. I'm just slowing my video speed down a little bit so that
Okay.
maybe it's a little more in sync with your play by play. So, yeah, we've got Dizzy Dean on the mound, bottom of the second. Fox steps in, delivers the pitch. Fox, ooh, what do we got here? Foul ball. Steps in with 1 strike on him. Fox sends a grounder down to Collins at first. Looks like an easy play for Collins, and there's 1 out. The mechanical man, Charlie Gehringer, stepping in. Looks like he's popped 1 up behind the plate. Gus Mancuso tracking it down. Don't know if this will stay in or not. Ooh, it's never coming down. And it's landed in someone's nachos. So,
Yeah, we must have our speeds differently because that was already landed in the crowd for me. So do
oh,
I
okay.
need to adjust something on my side?
No, I'm going to adjust it.
Okay. Again, I'm looking at a different park image
Yep.
too, and that might have
Give me a
to do with it.
pitch. I'll speed it up a little bit for everybody. I'll go back to where I was on that, but all right. We're good. So Dizzy Dean with the pitch. Gehringer steps in. Ooh, looks like he's got a line drive into right field for a base hit. Watkins throws it into Frisch. And we have a man on board. Gehringer at first. And the Goose Goslin steps in. Here's the pitch. Got a lazy fly ball here in the infield. Looks like Leo the Lip DeRocher is going to put this one away. Makes the catch, and we have 2 out. Gehringer still on first, and Hank Greenberg steps in. Looks like he's got a fly ball. Not sure if he's going to make it out of the infield. There's a lot of drama. Pepper Martin positions himself under it for an easy out. Pop out to third, so no runs, 1 hit, and no errors after 1. St. Louis, Detroit, scoreless.
All right, top of the second action here at the ballpark. And George Watkins to lead off, will be followed by Ernie Orsatti and then Hall of Fame second baseman Frankie Frisch. Watkins hitting 311 home runs, 57 runs batted in, digs in from the left side. Rowe peers in, has the sign from Cochran, and Watkins just spanks this one to Rodell at short. This is going to be a close play, and they do just get Watkins. Great play by Rodell. 1 down for center fielder Ernie Orsatti. So just like Gus Mancuso is a member of the Lucchese family, Orsatti a member of the Gambino family. Hitting 315, a home run, 41 runs batted in. And chopped on to short, Rogel earning his paycheck today on to hammer Hank Greenberg. 6-3, 2 down. A little light rain falling here in Detroit as Frankie Frisch steps in. 4 to the flash, hitting 303, 4 home runs, 70 runs batted in. Rowe kicks and fires. 2-1 pitch. Frisch sends this to third. Owen up with it and on to Greenberg. And the Cardinals go quietly here in the second.
Robbie's hoping that he gets to meet somebody with that nacho incident, I can see. But we've got Mickey Cochran. Black Mike steps in, and we've got the pitch from Dean. Cochran gets it. Looks like it's another infield pop-up. I don't know if Dean's got some foreign substance on the ball today, but these balls are, that's a third pop out in the infield. Got a big bat here in Rudy York with 34 home runs on the year, steps in. And promptly whiffs. Now third baseman Marv Owen, the 292 hitter. Ground ball to Pepper Martin at third. Martin gets the throw over to Collins at first, and they get the out. So just like that, nothing across in the bottom of the second, and it's still a tie game.
Top of the third here in Detroit, Motor City, Gus and Cuso, 274 average, 33 runs back. Stands in from the right. Rowe with the delivery. Cuso swings, comebacker to the mound. Rowe off the bump on to Greenberg. Pat Crawford doing DH duties today for the Redbirds. 272 average with 18 runs back. Rowe fires it in. Crawford swings. This is going to be a base hit into center. G. Walker up with it will get it into Rogel quickly. So Crawford aboard. St. Louis picking up its first base hit. And that brings up Leo the Lifter Rocher. Rocher, 263 hitter, 6 home runs, 74 runs batted in. Crawford about 4 steps off first. Rowe checks the runner and delivers. The 0-2 pitch. Bounding ball to first. Greenberg will go to Rogel, but the hard slide by Crawford. No. Will it break it up? They do not get to Rocher, so Rocher legs it out. Looked like there was a little leap there by Billy Rogel. So runners basically swap at first, 2 down, back at the top of the order for Pepper Martin, who fly to deep right back in the first. Will works to him, the 2-0, chopper to second. Charlie Gehringer up with it, onto Rogel to reach higher inside. So the Cardinals manage a hit, they strand one, and we go to the bottom of the third. We are scoreless.
And Billy Rogel stepping up. Pitch from Dean. Got a ground ball to Frankie Frisch at second. Should be easy. Makes a great play over to Collins in time. So we've got one out here in the bottom of the third inning. Guy Walker steps in. Ground ball to Pepper Martin at third. Looked like it took a funny hop. I don't know if he got him. Just in time.
Nice
That's
play by
2
Martin.
down. A lot of people thinking that guess should have been a called safe, but 2 down, and
St. Louis thinks it was a great call.
wow, yeah, they do. And we've got Pete Fox stepping in, and a strikeout to end the inning. Again, no runs, no hits, no errors. We've got 3 complete, and we still have a tied 0-0 ball game.
All right, dangerous bat to lead it off here for the Cardinals. Number 2, 3, and 4 hitters show Medwick, Ripper Collins, and then Watkins. So Medwick nothing for 1 in the game, rounded to short. Oops, gotta wait for Steve.
Oh, just waiting for the pitch. That's a cue to me.
Here's the delivery from Rowe to Medwick. Medwick cuts on this one, chopper to short. And once again, it's Billy Rogel. This is going to be close, but I think they get Medwick by a step, and they do. 1 away. Collins now rounded to second, so not a lot of balls out of the infield today. Well, works to him now. Collins pops this one on the infield. He couldn't script it that one any better. Aaron calls for it, and Horn 2 down.
I'm hearing you're hard to hear again, Beatles. So here's what I'm going to do.
Is this better?
Yeah, I'm going to take the sounds.
All right. So George Watkins, right fielder.
I think this is better. I muted him down a little bit.
Better. All right. Rowe delivers now to Watkins. The 1-2 delivery. Watkins swings. And, of course, once again, 6-3 put out. Oh, no. Watkins legs it out. So that little slow roller, Billy Rodell coming in on that, just not enough pepper in that ball. So Watkins aboard with 2 down. No real speed there. He'll choose his spots.
You sound like very faint now, Beatles.
Why is that? That's weird, because I wasn't faint before, was I? When we were talking on the regular stream thingy?
Yeah.
Weird. Well,
Any better now?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea, because I can't tell from my side, because I don't think I can up the. Let me see if I can up this without it going down.
Yeah, it just seemed
better. Is that better?
It comes and goes. It seems.
Yeah, that's what my girlfriend says all the time. Oh well, sorry about that.
No, now you sound good. It comes in and out. So. Oh, I know.
All right. Watkins about 3 steps off first. Rowe works to him now. Count even on Orsatti. This will pop behind the plate. Cochran flings aside the mask. Will he have enough real estate? And this one out of play. Orsatti back in the box now. Count even on him. Here is Rowe's delivery. And base hit into left field. Goose Goslin up with it. Watkins thinking about going around second. And he will try for third.
I'm not going to opt for that low percentage and make a throwing error. So let's just, with 2 out, let's see if we can get everybody, get the out we need here.
All right, runners in scoring position. Let's hide that. Runners in scoring position for Frankie Frisch. Here's Rowe pitching full count on Frisch. Frisch draws the walk. This one just a bit high and outside.
Here we go.
Bases loaded for Gus Mancuso. Mancuso grounded back to Schoolboy Rowe his last time up.
So for MV, this is one of these things where we talk about this. I don't want to have any chance for a walk, so I'm going to use a feature right here because I don't want there to be any. I want to eliminate the chance that I walk this guy.
And here's the delivery from Rowe. First pitch swinging by Mancuso. Harmless little grounder down to first. Greenberg throws onto Schoolboy Rowe, covering for the third out. St. Louis leaves it loaded. We go to the bottom of the 4th, and we are scoreless.
Nice. And what I did there, Beals, just so I used the aggressive pitch because I wanted him to come right at the plate because I didn't want a chance of a walk, and that worked out for me.
Right.
Big Clue, I appreciate the compliment. He's saying he could stare at the baseball cards all day. They're gorgeous. I take a lot of, and this, I was so upset when we were going to play. That's why I got this team done. I had the Tigers done, but it takes a little bit of time. But I like to kind of dress them up and have nice players and photos and different things like that. So I enjoy looking at them too, and appreciate the compliment. And now we've got Geringer, the mechanical man, stepping in, and he lined a single between first and second his first time up. The pitch, and he takes a walk. So he's on base for the second time today. About a 50% steal chance here. And Goose Goslin steps in. And here's the pitch from Dean. Goslin takes a walk. So Dean's looked really strong early on, but now it looks like he's struggling a little bit. Got some power coming to the plate, and Hank Greenberg with 49 home runs and 166. Yes, that's correct. 166 RBIs on the season.
Could I just hold on to the ball forever? No.
Yeah, here we go. Now, is this a time? What's his bunt rating? He's got a bunt rating of 1. I'm thinking, do I outmaneuver myself, MV, and drop a bunt with a big bat and really just trick the whole team and try to move these runners both into scoring position? I think not. And he promptly whiffs. Maybe an attempt at a sacrifice hit would have been a better play, but 1 out. Runners on first and second. Mickey Cochran up to the plate. Here's the pitch. and he takes a walk. So we got 4 runners, all courtesy of the walk, and we're down to 1 out. Bases loaded, and Rudy York, another big bat. Our outcome box is telling us that it's a 4% chance for a home run and 55.2% chance this at bat yields a run. The pitch, York sends a ball out to deep center field. Ernie Orsatti underneath it makes the catch. Probably no throw. Looks like Geringer's going to get it easy from third on the sac fly. We now have a 1-0 game. The walks will come back to haunt you for sure.
Oof,
2 out.
the truth.
Marv Owen, the third baseman, stepping in. He's grounded out to third in his last at bat. And we've got a ground ball to Frankie Frisch. Handles it easily over to Ripper Collins for the out, and we are done. 1 run, no hits, no errors, 3 walks that inning. Through 4 innings, it's a Detroit lead of 1-0.
Scary inning there for St. Louis, facing a couple big bats there. Hank Greenberg could have done some serious damage. To Pat Crawford to leave it off here. He is 1 for 1, singled back in the third. Rowe with the 0-1. Crawford chops this one to second. Gehringer up with it on to Greenberg for the 4-3 putout. 1 away. Light rain continuing to fall here in Detroit. Otherwise, a nice day, 82 degrees. As Leo the Lip stands in, 0-for-1, grounded to first. Rowe with the 2-0 delivery, chopper to third. Marv Owen up with it, the long throw across the diamond, in plenty of time to retire DeRocher for out number 2. Back at the top of the order now for the Redbirds, Pepper Martin. He's fly to deep right and grounded to second. Rowe winds and fires, first pitch swinging, base hit, right field, Pepper Martin aboard. And stepping in, Joe Medwick. Joe Medwick is 0-for-2. He's grounded short twice. So for MV, I have some speed on the base pass. Pepper Martin's fast. However, Joe Medwick's got a good bat. And with 2 outs, right, if I would try, I mean, I could. There's nothing that says I shouldn't steal. But this early in the game, I don't know that I want to take, and I'm giving away my strategy to Steve here. I don't think I want to steal with Pepper Martin in this situation. I'd rather take a chance with Medwick, even though it's a low percentage that he's actually going to get a home run. I don't want to nullify that. On the other hand, I could purposely try to steal. If it's a third out, then Medwick gets to lead off the next inning. But so just to let Steve know, I'm getting away. Here's a delivery to Medwick. Medwick swings, chopper to first, and Greenberg throws on to Rowe, covering, side retired. The Cardinals strand 1, no runs, 1 hit, no errors. We go to the bottom of the 5th. It's 1-0.
I will say that I agree with that, right? Because the play is there. You try to get him to steal down so that you could a base hit scores that tying run, right?
Right.
I might be more tempted in the later innings, right? It's like it's still kind of
absolutely.
early, a lot of baseball, 50-some%. Now if it's an 80% stealer, then I'm maybe thinking a little differently and pitching out. So yeah, all the
Absolutely.
fun within the game, and to me, that's what really makes this in a human versus human game. This it brings some of these nuances in that you don't experience if it's just you and the computer.
Exactly.
It does, but it really doesn't. Do you know what I mean by that?
But it's like that game within the game, right?
The game within the game. So yeah, we got Billy Rogel stepping in here. Pitch from Dean. Rogel draws a walk. It seems like a theme here with the Tigers. They're taking advantage of these walks. Guy Walker up. He grounded out to third. It's a 345 hitter. We got Rogel at first base. And a strikeout. It seems like with Dean, it's balls or my batter's strikeout, right? I'm lucky I got the sac fly. But Pete Fox, leadoff hitter, stepping up to the plate. He is grounded out and struck out. Looks like he's lined a ball past DeRocher into left field. Ducky Medwick is doing something with it out there, bobbling it. And
E7.
That looks like it will be an E7 in the scoring column, allowing Rogel to take third and Fox at second. So now we got one out, both runners in scoring position, and a great batter, Charlie the Mechanical Man Gehringer, stepping up. And the pitch from Dean. Gehringer lines one into right field, scoring Rogel from third. Fox makes the turn. I've got a decision here. I can see my save chance. He makes that turn, and I'm going to hold him up. I only had a 47% chance there, Beatles, so I held him with just one out. So here we go.
Dean is looking sloppy.
And here's where we can show him. Maybe we switch it over here. What do you think? At bat mode?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, pitch mode?
Pitch mode. Yeah, you would switch that on your side, right?
Oh, it won't let me after you've pitched. So,
Okay.
base hit up the middle.
And
Fox scores from third. Gehringer around in second. And I'm going to hold him up. I don't want to get too risky on the base pass because things seem to be going the Tigers' way right now. Hank Greenberg coming to the plate with one out, two men on.
all right, I'm doing my thing here. I'm going to the pen, damn it. Going to the pen.
Woo. Folks, Dean has been inconsistent, only 77 pitches, but Beatles is going into his pen using the matchup analysis tool in 2023. We're not going to get to see what he's doing because you guys are viewing my view here, so we don't get to see his deliberation right now, but I can only imagine.
Let me see. Damn it. Do I want to go? Oh man, this is like, I mean, after Dizzy Dean, it's just. All right. We are bringing in Brother Paul, so Daffy Dean.
Oh, it's a brotherly duo today. And the pitch from the other Dean, Hank Greenberg at the plate, and strikes out. I think he's done that the last time he was up. So Mickey Cochran coming up. He's walked in the fourth. Two out, still got two runners on. Dean looking to bail his brother out. Cochran hits a ball out to center field. Could be routine. Ernie Orsatti takes the ball. Third out. Two runs, three hits, one error. Big inning for this game. And now through five, Detroit is up 3-0.
And the number 3, 4, 5 hitters coming up for St. Louis. So Ripper Collins leading it off. Collins nothing for two. Popped to second his last time up. Grounded to second. So definitely has some sort of synergy with Charlie Gehringer. Rowe winds and fires the 0-1 delivery to Ripper. And Collins sends this one deep down the right field line, but Fox getting it near the corner for the first out. Right fielder George Watkins steps in the box, single to the infield back in the fourth. Rowe peers in, has the sign from Cochran. Here's the wind in the 1-0 pitch. Base hit right field. So that's number 5 for the Cardinals, but nothing to show for it in the run column. Collins, not the fastest runner in the box. Ernie Orsatti, 1 for 2, singled back in the fourth. Rowe with a check of the runner, Watkins at first. Here's the 1-0 delivery to Orsatti. Orsatti base hit, so back-to-back singles for the Cardinals, 2 on. And we're going to hold Watkins at second. Brings up Frankie Frisch. The Fordham Flashes, nothing for 1. Walked back in the fourth. Rowe checks the runners, comes home with it. 1-1 to Frisch. Frisch, little chopper. This one, Gehringer coming in on that ball quickly to retire Frisch. Orsatti and Watkins move up. 2 down. 2 in scoring position for St. Louis. This has been their best opportunity all day. Schoolboy Rowe working from the stretch to Gus Mancuso, has grounded out twice. Here it comes. The 1-0 delivery to Mancuso. Swung on, base hit into left. RBI for Mancuso as Watkins scores. Orsatti rounding third, and Gabby Street is going to send him, the manager.
We got a game now.
So Cardinals, yes we do. Cardinals plating 2 here in the 6th. Within striking distance now, 3-2. Mancuso at first for Pat Crawford, who's 1 for 2 in the game. Single back in the 3rd. Mancuso about 3 steps off first. Rowe checks the runner, winds and fires the 1-0. Crawford chopper to Rogel at short, and he will take it to the bag himself. Side retired, two runs, 3 hits, no errors. And we go to the bottom of the 6th. It's Detroit 3, St. Louis 2.
I'm really liking this theme of swapping off, right? Gives you a nice little break for the play-by-play, and it gives me a chance to sit back and kind of enjoy watching the game, seeing the field and all the good stuff up here. I'm liking it.
Oh, it's nice, and it gives them a break from my voice.
Oh, gosh, yeah, but they're still stuck with
Hell
both of
yeah.
us. Dean, the other brother, on the mound, delivers to York. York sends one out to left field. Don't know if he got all of it. It's like it's going to stay in, and Medwick makes the play out and left for out number 1 here in the bottom of the 6th.
Medwick tripping over a soda bottle out there.
I guess. It's an old hot dog wrapper or something. We've got Marv Owen stepping up, grounded out to 3rd and to 2nd in his 2 prior at-bats. So Dean with the pitch. Marv Owen sends a grounder down to Frisch. Easy play for him over to 1st, and there's 2 outs. Billy Rogel stepping in. Dean delivers. Rogel right back up the middle. Looks like Frisch tried to make a move for it, didn't have the range to get there, and we've got Rogel on with 2 out. And E. Walker stepping up to the plate. Right-handed batter with a .345 average. Struck out in his last time in the 5th inning. Here's the pitch. Walker sends one out to right field. Watkins looks like he's got it. Makes an easy catch, and the side is retired. So after 6, we have a 3-2 Detroit lead. We got a ball game.
We indeed have a ball game as Leo DeRocher leads it off at the bottom of the Redbirds order, followed by Pepper Martin and Joe Medwick. The lip is nothing for 2. He is grounded to 1st and to 3rd. And Schoolboy Rowe tosses aside the rosin bag, and he is ready to deliver. 2-1 delivery to DeRocher. Hey, I got your back, brother. DeRocher chopper, Rogel taking this deep in the hole, bobbling, a little juggling act out there. And DeRocher aboard. So the E6, each team committing an error now. Brinkley brothers will be making note of that play. Pepper Martin now are back at the top of the order for St. Louis. The wild horse of the Osage is 1 for 3, single back in the 5th. DeRocher, no real speed at first, still taking a modest lead. Rowe fires it home, the 2-0 to Pepper Martin. Martin swings this one. Oh, Rowe has it to Rogel, but there will not be a double play. But what did you see? What a great play that was. So Rowe, good heads up to get the head runner, or the lead runner. So 1 down for Joe Medwick. Frustrated, nothing for 3 for the Cardinal left fielder. He's grounded to short twice and grounded to 1st. Rowe delivers to Medwick, 2-0 pitch. And Medwick crushes this ball. And this one is, you can kiss it goodbye. Open the window and ready. 2-run shot for Ducky Joe Medwick. That one going 370 feet. And is now 4-3 Cardinals. Ripper Collins steps in now. Collins, nothing for 3 in the contest. Rowe bears down and lets it go. The 0-1 to Collins. Collins swings, easy chopper to short. Rogel up with it, on to Hammer and Hank Greenberg to retire Collins. 4 out, number 2. George Watkins now. Good day at the plate for him. 2 for 3, baseball fans. 2 singles, including an infield single in the 4th. Rowe rocks and fires. Count even on Watkins. Watkins chops on this one down the third base line. Marvone up with it. Throws across to Greenberg to nip Watkins by a step. 2 runs, 1 hit, 1 error. Bottom of the 7th. We go. It's 4-3 St. Louis.
It is that time, folks. Take a little stretch here while we entertain ourselves. Quite a game here. And is this the rubber match kind of, right? We're both 1-1 in these head-to-head series. Those other games didn't count, so this will put somebody ahead for a short time.
Absolutely. We do note for a short time.
Yes, because there will be more head-to-head. And again, definitely love seeing other people to get involved in the head-to-head matchups. It's just a blast.
It is. It's so much fun, guys. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Well, we've got Pete Fox here leading off. Dean steps in. Here's the pitch. Fox sends one back up the middle. Frisch looks like he's got it. Over to Collins. And we have an out here for Fox. One away in the bottom of the 7th.
Love having Frankie there at second.
Yeah, I bet you do. Charlie Gehringer stepping in. He's 2 for 2 on the day. And a walk. So he's been on base all 3 times. The pitch from Dean, ground ball down to Frisch. Speaking of him, and a great play as he gets Gehringer, who's moving pretty good down that first base line. Goose Goslin, another good bat in this lineup for the Tigers. Pitch, and Paul Dean has come in and pitched a stellar relief appearance here, and he strikes out Goose Goslin. So we're down to a 4-3 lead after 7. Still a close one. And I'm going to keep my eye on my pitcher.
Keep your eye on your pitcher, absolutely. I'm going to look at your pitch count. Oh, man, you're good forever. Schoolboy Rowe can pitch forever. Of course, so can Dizzy Dean, and look where he is now.
Yeah, it's not about, I want him to pitch well forever, not
just
mediocre.
Not forever, right?
Exactly.
All right, Ernie Orsatti, good day at the dish. He's 2 for 3. 2 singles. So Rowe delivers the 2-1 to Orsatti. Orsatti, little chopper. Billy Rogel is just busy out there today at short. On to Greenberg for the 6-foot put out. 1 down. And that brings up Fordham Flash. Frankie Frisch making some nice plays out there at second base today for St. Louis. Otherwise, he's nothing for 2, including a walk. That's to the left. And Schoolboy Rowe into his wind. Frisch gets the bunt down, but it's not a good one. On to Gehringer. Easy out. So had to try to catch a nap in there, Steve.
Playing some small ball.
Mancuso, 1 for 3. Absolutely. 1 for 3 for Mancuso. Singled over third. Back in the 6th. Rowe's 2-2 pitch. Mancuso. Big swing and a miss. And that does it. No runs. No hits, no errors, and we go to the 8th, or bottom of the 8th, 4-3, St. Louis.
And we've got they're pointing us to the trivia question in the chat, Beatles,
where I can't see the chat, so.
Where they're saying, here he is. Forever remain 90s. Trivia question is, which organization won just 3 playoff series since the 1920s? And all series wins came in the same year.
Oh, wow.
One guess is the Cubs. So we'll see if other people want to weigh in on that.
It's not either of these teams. Wow. Yeah, I've got to think too, man. Wow, that's a good question.
So we got Dean sticking to the backup of his brother here. It looks like the Cardinals are going to ride Dean here into the 8th inning. Hank Greenberg stepping in. Oh, and he's hit one, and that is a gone shot. That was murdered. Reminiscent of the shot Medwick hit. And we have a tie ball game, folks. I don't know how far that was, but that got out of here quick into the upper deck. 68 feet.
Yeah, it might have been 368 miles. Good God.
And we have a tie ball game. Dean had been pitching really well up to that point. Mickey Cochran steps in, nobody away here. He hits one out to deep right field. This one looks like it's carrying, stays in the park, and Watkins makes the catch. One away in the eighth. Another big bat for the Tigers, Rudy York, who has flied out a couple times and struck out today. Sends a ball out to deep left, and it is gone. That just stayed fair inside the foul pole. Medwick racing back.
Laser shot. You said that Garrick hit line drive home runs.
So Rudy York and Greenberg coming through here, giving the Tigers the lead here in the bottom of the eighth. Marv Owen stepping in. Managers try to worry about the home run ball.
All right. We're bringing in a Hall of Famer here.
And here comes Jesse Haynes. Looks like here, I've got a good hit percentage here. Marv Owen against righties isn't too bad. Yeah, let's see what he's got. Steps in, grounds one back past Haynes. Frisch makes the play over to Collins in time. And we have an out. Number 2 of the inning, so we got 2 down. Billy Rigel steps in.
Do we have any answer yet for that trivia question?
We have many people have answered. We were Midlife Crisis has guessed the Cubs, and Big Clue has guessed the Angels.
I got to go with the Cubs as well.
Cubs sounds right to me. Rogel steps in, the pitch. He sends this one right out into left center field. A poor play by Sadie. Must have misjudged that. And Rogel takes second. Guy Walker steps up. I'm liking these percentages against Haynes for whatever reason.
I'm hating these percentages against Haynes for some reason. All right, time to bring in an Irishman.
Ooh, we're bringing a lefty in. So I've got Walker's pretty good against both. Lefty's better. All right. Bill Hallahan coming in. Guy Walker steps in, runner on the move. Right back up. DeRocher's got it. Makes the play to Collins, and that should end the inning. It does end the inning. So, 2 runs, 2 solo shots, one by Greenberg, one by Rudy York, and the Tigers go from 1 down to 1 up as we move into the top of the 9th inning. 5-4 lead. I got Schoolboy Rowe thinking about, take a look at what I've got sitting in my bullpen. Crawford versus Rose at 22. What have I got coming up here? I've got Crawford low. We're coming to the top of the order. I'm going to stick with Schoolboy Rowe right now. Managerial maneuvering coming into play here.
Bringing in a switch hitter. So Jack Rothrock will come in to pinch hit for St. Louis. Numbers on him: 279, 7 home runs, 64 runs batted in.
In just 1 minute, Beatles.
Sure thing.
At least we've got a close game.
Yeah, we do. This is a good one. Whichever way it goes, this is a good one. As Schoolboy Rowe continues to manipulate the rosin bag on the bump. And we'll look at our temperature here. It's creeped up to 85 degrees. The Motor City. When we stopped at the Beatles, we played in the Motor City. And here's Rowe's delivery. Count even on Rothrock. Rothrock, base hit. Center field.
And for MV, here's where the strategery comes into play here.
Do you want to go to pitch mode?
Yeah.
I think you need to
You know what? It's not letting me switch it back and forth. We would have probably had to set that up in the rules before we started,
right.
remember? So if you're playing the computer, you can toggle back and forth as you want. We would have had to go to rules and allow it. We could have set it to come on only if there's runners, or set it to always be on, or something like that when it's head to head. That way I can't throw a wrench at you here or into it.
We'll remember that for next game, though.
Yep.
Because I love pitch by pitch. It's real. All right. Do I want to do this? I think I want to do this. All right, so Bill Delancey comes off the bench. Backup catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. 296, 10 home runs, 40 runs batted in. Rothrock first.
And Schoolboy's been pulled back into the dugout. He's pitched a great game today, and we're going to the lefty, Chief Hogsett. Hogsett's tough against lefties. Have a lefty up at the plate.
No, screw it. I was going to try something, but Cochran's got a gun back there behind the dish. Played straight up here. So Hogsett into his line, the delivery to Delancey, the 2-1 count. Delancey, base hit. Did I do something funny there? Rothrock will hold at second.
No, I'm just laughing because I got the matchup you'd dream of. Only a 9.8% chance for a hit, and he got the hit.
Got the hit. I was gonna I was gonna go pinch runner for Rothrock.
Oh,
when
yeah.
He was on first, but Cochran's got an 8 for an arm. There's no way. Just not enough speed. My speed isn't doing. Speaking of speed, here's one of them. That was Martin on first. There was going to be a straight up steal. But that being said, all right. So Pepper Martin just 1 for 4 today in the ball game. Hogsett checks Rothrock at second, puts home with it now. The 1-1 pitch to Pepper Martin. Martin swings, chopper in the infield. This should end the game. And that's it. No, that's
no. It's only 2 out. We're down to 1 play here. We got the tying run at third. Medwick up.
Big bat. And
yeah, you're not pinch hitting for him, and I don't. He's tough on both, right? He's a 354, 332. I got to get me a better percentage than a 30.8 on a run. Could walking.
So my resistance really tuning, and again, this would be more for MV, I think, is if I've got a big bat, right? I'm not gonna bring. I mean, Medwick right now with I've got Ripper Collins waiting on deck. I'm not gonna pinch hit for Joe Medwick. I mean,
no, and
percentages aside, that's a big bat.
And here's what I'm showing him. I got my screen up because I got Hogsett there, and I know Hogsett right here is 30%, right? So I can see I can bring in a righty and be. I'm not going to do too much better. I could bring Tommy Bridges in, but I'm not going to get too much better than him. Bringing in a righty, and then I got to look. I could walk him and then go to Collins, and have actually a little bit better hit percentage. But then do I put the go-ahead run on base? What the heck? And and I'm reading the note. Outcome percentages may change based on base situation and pitcher clutch rating. So let's go right back here, and I think I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to choose this. Beatles doesn't know this.
I do not. All right, Hogsett into his line, and here's the delivery to Medwick Medwick taking for ball one.
Just so you know, Beatles, I chose pitch around because,
Did you?
I, yeah, I thought maybe you swing at a bad pitch.
Well, because yeah, I mean Medwick's got that bat, so absolutely. It's all on you, Ducky, to tie it up. Hoxton from the stretch and the 1-0 to Medwick, and Medwick draws the walk.
I let him walk because I like this matchup better.
Ripper, you're due, buddy. You are due. Oops. Wait.
Ripper's 25.
Frankly, I'm not going to do much better than Ripper off my bench. There's one guy I want to look at.
Gosh, I like his low home run. Again, I'm not tempted. I like what I'm seeing right here, even though I don't have the lefty righty matchup. I like what I'm seeing.
Yep, I have to stick. Damn.
You're weighing options.
Oh. Yeah, because I mean Collins is due, right? Collins is due, but looking at this, I do have a hitter that has a slightly higher percentage for a run to score a run on this play. But do I pull the home run leader?
Yeah, because what if we tie it up and you
Oh
need
my
him in
God.
extra innings,
Right, exactly.
right?
Oh, this hurts. This hurts. Oh, I'm sticking with the Ripper. I got to. Got to stick with him. So runners at the corners. And Hoxton ready to work now. From the stretch, the 1-2 pitch to Ripper Collins, curveball, chopper to first, and Greenberg will take it unassisted, and that is the game. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Wow, that
Good
was a heck of a
game.
game.
Yes, it was.
I jumped out to a 3-0 lead. You came back, got close, took a 4-3 lead, and then, wow, those two. We had 3 home runs
Hmm.
from prominent baseball players.
Nice to see. These are great teams. This is great teams. I wouldn't mind doing our next head-to-head with these same two teams.
Yeah, what do we got here? Game-winning RBI from York. We got Medwick's homer
Hmm.
off row. 307. It just cracks me up. I love it. 376 feet. So Medwick had the longest home run of the day, even though Greenberg's and York's looked like they were shot with a rocket.
Yeah.
At least on my video, they did. It looked like just straight line drives. But yeah, good game. Couple errors. Medwick had one bobbling the ball out in left field. Rogel made one for the Tigers. In the comments, Beatles midlife crisis is talking about he'll use the pitcher clutch rating sometimes to help determine who's pitching if he's like on the fence about it. And
Oh,
he
nice.
said he also uses the pitch around often as well. I used it on my side of things here when we were playing.
I like that thinking. I just so what I was thinking, right? So I had Ripper Collins up there, right? But Spud Davis had a 6% chance higher for a hit. But I'm just thinking, you know what? I could have gone for the base hit, and it didn't work out. But if I would have had, right, I was hoping, right? Baseball superstition. I'm thinking, right? Ripper Collins, he's got more pop than Spud Davis, and was trying to put the game out of reach. I wasn't just trying to tie it. I know that's
Yep.
against but conventional baseball wisdom does say go for the win on the road and the tie at home because you always get your last at bats at home. And backfired on me. And but damn fine game. Really, really damn fine game. So you're up 2-1, Steve. You're up
Yeah,
2-1.
barely. That was fun. So we'll have to pick. Maybe somebody will ask us when we do our next head-to-head, or maybe we come up with which 2 teams will we take from the file, right? So let me fire them up.
We could do that. We could do that. I'm all about it. So, oh, we have an answer. It's the White Sox in 2005.
Oh,
For the trivia question about that.
hmm. So we look at the NL file. This is the most recent one.
We had the city right, at least. Those of us that guessed Cubs, at least we had the city right.
Oh, I have to disconnect our Hamachi. Then now I can fire the.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you kick me off? Good.
Yeah, now it'll
Yeah,
fire it up.
that was fun.
Yeah, I don't know why it's grabbing the wrong file. So I'm gonna pull up the NL file here.
Midlife crisis. We'd love to get you on a head-to-head sometime, man. Awesome.
So I don't know if everybody's seen this. I don't think you have either, but this is the latest team before I retired to go work on the other project. I just added this interesting team.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely don't have this. I'll have
The
to go get it.
1929 to 33 Phillies. Now, why did I add them? Take a look. Let's
Chuck
just
Klein.
sort them by batting average.
Well, Chuck Klein right there. I mean, that's good. But you got Fresco. Man, oh man.
You have
Yeah.
11 hitters over 300.
Right. But now here we go. Let's look at the pitchers. Come on.
Okay. Hey, let's take a look at the OPS here. Lefty O'Doul, Chuck Klein,
Jesus. Right.
Cy
John
Williams at the
Hurst.
very end, like the last year of his 2 years of his playing, right, as a pinch hitter.
Mhm.
Spud
Right.
Davis there. Now, yeah, let's take a look at pitching.
There's our buddy Lefty
Sort them by
O'Doul.
game started. Let's take a look at those that's starting options you have. Ed,
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's atrocious. That's so. Let's see. You have two starters in the high threes for ERA, and then the rest of it is just wow. So what the Braves used to say, "Spawn insane and pray for rain." The Phils of this span can't even say
yeah.
like Benji and
And
Holly and
and I did
whatever.
this because I'm like, yeah, why not? It interests me because these are two, great players right here.
Oh sure.
One a Hall of Famer, and look at those power lines. I mean, that's great bats, but you're going to have to score a lot of runs and then hope you play stellar defense because that is a rough pitching staff right there.
Now what would be fun, and I know you're not doing this, but like down the road to find a comparable team,
Yes.
right? That would
So
be
let's
fun
look
because
at
it would be
Les
a real
Sweetland.
slugfest.
He started
Uh-huh.
25 games. He got a 6.29. Look at this, a 1.8 WHIP. Let's take a look at his opponent's batting average. Um, yeah, against
344.
righties, he's a lefty, but against righties, opponent batting average is 380.
Ouch.
That's tough.
Ouch. That is. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an explosive lineup at those pitchers. Good God.
Oh, look at Forever Remain. He says next time he says we should pick a team, do a series. You do a full series,
Okay.
and then we narrow it down to 25 men max. And he's saying we could even stream and just kind of show the whole process while we each of us narrow our roster down
That
to
would
who
be a
it's going to be,
blast.
and then figure out who would we want to do. So I don't know. Maybe we'll put some thought into this and think. But this is the latest file I have. Haven't made it available yet. I'm waiting to get some feedback on a couple things, and then I will
Right.
post these. But I won't
That's
be
a
adding any
that's
more teams very quickly. Let's
that
put it that way. But here's NL options, right? But we can do NL or AL.
that is a bad pitching staff. Wow.
Yeah, and then it makes this pitching staff look good. The one with the
Uh-huh.
Ralph Kiner team.
And that's scary.
That
Yeah,
is
because
scary.
I mean, you've got like sort of normal ERAs here, right? With Preacher Rowe and Rip Sewell, and
Yeah.
that that is a bad rotation for the Phils. Good God.
And you got
But the
Ralph Kiner
power
hitting
is
46
crazy,
homer.
right?
Yeah, their OPS, they got power. This Bill Salkeld, a catcher, right? Halftime catcher, but
Hmm.
not much after that. Bob Elliott, okay, well-known good third baseman. Bob Elliott's there, but yeah,
Right.
it's really Ralph Kiner
It's
and
Ralph Kiner,
others.
and then right, and then everybody left Forbes after Kiner's last at bat. Midlife crisis, by the way, you're in first place in the Ned McGreevy League. Didn't know if you knew that or not. Wally Westlake was a pretty decent hitter. He was all right, but really those Bucks had nobody except Kiner. And then Well, 1958. Bucks had one good year in 1958, but Kiner wasn't with them anymore by then.
And I know you like looking at
Um,
rosters. You and I will get lost here, but how about this?
yes.
I haven't done the one in between yet. I don't think. Let me see. Oh no, I do. So I have 1921 to 25 Cardinals, right? With Hornsby. Look at that.
Right before their first World Series in
Yeah.
1926.
Look at this. 32 homers, 413 average. So you get him and Bottomley tearing it up right here. Okay. And there's Jesse Haynes in earlier days.
Hmm.
Really good team there. Then you move into, and these are two teams prior to the one you just played, right? Then you go to the late 20s,
Right.
the ones that played the Yankees in the World Series.
Right. And beat them in
And
1926. Yeah,
yeah,
but then got smacked down in 1928 by the Yankees.
and you got Grover Cleveland Alexander right there on the pitching staff. And again, now you got Frankie Fish, who's come over from that other
New
team.
York. New York. Oh, you mean from the other Cardinals team? Yeah, because he would go on
Oh
to
no,
play
yeah,
for
but I
the
mean, yeah,
Giants.
Frisch is over
Right.
here, and you got him
Yep.
on the Giants too. Yeah, would be a fun team to play as well.
Oh yeah. I love these Cardinals teams from 1926 into the mid 30s. Because then you have the Gas House Gang in the 30s, and just brilliant.
And we have, of course, this Cardinal team. Some people don't like in the sim world playing those Warriors, so they would be offended that I even have this team on the file. So my answer to them, and I've had somebody mention that to me, is
Damn
don't use
usual.
it. Don't use it.
But yeah, don't use it. Right.
Because
I
they're
mean,
like,
come
well,
on, you
these
got
years
Sting.
were the war years, so it doesn't count. I'm like, well, it's awful funny to me how some of these people put up the very same numbers after the war years too. So
Oh
I,
yeah.
I don't really know. I don't think the war year whole thing is made out to be to the extent it is. But yeah, I get
It's a
that. My
good
option is
team.
don't use it. Yeah, it's a good
Look at
team.
these names. You got Marty Marion, obviously Stan Musial, Whitey Karowski, Enos Slaughter, Walker Cooper. It's a damn fine team. I would play this 1944 or 42 to 46 Cardinal squad.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Midlife says that Cardinal team is faring quite well in my King of the Hill. Yeah, they do. The two things I've noticed and I've received feedback from people is this team plays really good. On the AL file, the late 60s, early 70s Orioles play good. And then this team's pitching staff, the early Cubs, is
Hmm.
deadly,
Oh, they're almost
even for
perfect.
their era. So let's look at their ERA plus. That's a great indication, right? Because it's going to take in fact. Look at
Hmm.
all these scores above 100 is good, right?
Oh yeah.
But look at these scores. 122, 157. Now this is all being adjusted for the era they played in. So it's look at this one, 218, three finger brown on that one. 191. That the ERA plus is unheard of. So they were great in their
Yeah.
own context. That's what makes them really great. Uh, I guess in kind of an all-time approach.
And yet, and they are right. And so they were the big favorite in 1906 against crosstown rivals, the hitless wonders, the White Sox, and the White Sox beat this 1906 Cubs team. And no, that was a big
Well,
shock.
let's
Yeah,
go take
big
a look
shock.
at them because
But yeah, that Cubs team, that rotation is just. And then let's not forget the position players on those early Cubbies teams. I mean, the Cubs, Pirates, and Giants in the first decade of the 20th century were just insane,
I do have a team
passionately.
that encompasses that 1906 for the White Sox. I got an '04 to '08 version right here. So
Okay,
take a
the
look at
hitless
those.
wonders, and they truly were the hitless wonders in the regular season.
I've just cycled it by batting order. Highest batting order is Frank Isbell at 285.
Right.
Look at the OPS. They're just such a weak hitting team.
And
Now,
somehow managed to take care of the Cubs in a
let's look
series.
at
That's
fielders. I
great.
love this view when you can cycle. So you've got, a little above average at catcher, a seven
Hmm.
above average there, a seven at second, a 10, Lee Tannehill at third base, a nine at short with George Davis. So, they've got some good defense in the infield for sure. Fielder Jones out in center. So it's an above average fielding team. The
Yeah.
other thing that is interesting, I don't know if anybody looks at this. You see these numbers over here? It'll give you a rating all the way up to 10 based on your matchup.
I never knew what the hell those were.
So let's pick a
I
couple
never knew what
teams.
that was. Oh my
Yeah,
God, I've been playing this since 2017.
yeah.
I
So
never
let's take
know
a look at
what
this
those
team.
numbers were.
Let's say where we were going to do an exhibition,
Okay.
those two teams, right? So let's
The rest
take
of
a
you guys
look.
know this? I had no idea.
So we'll take Chicago, that 0408 team, right? And then we're going to go bring in the NL file. So I got to go switch files here.
Okay.
FYF. And are you watching this, Beatles?
I am watching it
Oh,
closely. I've
oh,
moved the
perfect.
game over. Now we're not playing anymore.
No, yeah,
So
we're not playing. So
yeah,
now we'll go over to that
yeah. So now
Chicago team. Okay. Now we'll set up to play, and I'll just exit out or let it auto play, right?
sure.
And here we go. We're going to go to the lineup screen. And when you go to lineup
Okay.
screen, what it's going to do, I'm going to put in my pitcher. So who would we
Okay.
want from the White Sox? Go by game started. Oh my gosh, I've put in the wrong. Forget it. We've got the current White Sox. I need to go back and
Oops.
rename the years. Okay, let's put Mark
Right.
Burley in as the pitcher. Okay, then we go to the opponent. Let them pick their lineup. So now what you're seeing is, go back to this opponent. Okay, I'm going to put their lineup in. I've put a lineup in, right? So if I'm over here and I'm the White Sox, I'm looking at, okay, I've got Mark Burley going. Now, Chicago, the lineup I have versus a lefty, this is the overall rating. It's about a 5.7. The range of the field of the people I'm going to put on the field, the combined fielding range, weighted per 27 ounce, is telling me that, hey, that's the slightly above average fielding team that I'm putting out, right? Now, if I if I load up a lineup, say number 3 versus 4 versus left, it changes, and see how my range changed. And 6 is pretty much your average, right around there, 5.5 to 6. So that kind of gives you an indication um, what you're putting out there, right?
I never knew what I just
Really?
I don't know if I never I don't know if I just looked at because I'm
Yeah.
like so focused on the lineups. I never knew that.
So
I'll
now
go
let's
over with
flip
that.
over, right? So that's theirs. Now this lineup for the Cubs. Look at this. Now this is showing their batting, right? They're not going to be great batting, but look, they're outstanding range that you're fielding out
Right.
there, and it's because look at all these ranges here. You got 7s, 8s, 9, a 10. So yeah,
And then
just kind of
couple
a
that with that
quick
nasty
glance.
rotation. That would be fun to play these two teams against these. You should sim it. Can you just sim it out
You
quickly,
betcha.
just curiously?
Okay, hold on.
Big Clue says, "Yeah, Steve. Too bad that Musial kid never hit the same after the war." And Dave Price is
Let's
saying,
move him up.
"Okay,
So I'm just going to move him up a little bit. Jim Tomey in the middle there. And let's see to view opponent.
but
Where
you
do they
can
got the
bring them in."
DH down here? That's fine. So I will go to play ball.
Play ball!
Change my options to computer, and let's see what happens here.
All right.
And it was a 7-3 White Sox victory. So the
Oof.
more current day White Sox, Mark Burley, the lefty, gets a win. And Feaster goes the distance in the loss. Fun stuff, huh?
Oh,
3 home
absolutely fun
runs. Look at
stuff.
this. One home
Midlife
run.
Crisis says rigged.
One home run from Johnny Kling, who was batting cleanup, and we had 3 home runs. Look at this, from the bottom of the order for the White Sox.
Crazy. Canerco didn't. What? He didn't do anything. He was 1 for 3. Expected
Cool
Canerco to
stuff.
jack a couple. Yeah.
Anyway, I guess we just nose around in here. Maybe we come across things and we learn something, and other people learn stuff. It's kind of, what do we call this? Free form broadcasting.
That works. That works. Is that like slam poetry? But we're doing. Yeah, that works.
Exists great. So I know you're looking at 60s to get acquainted, but another team that was
Yes.
below 500 that I've got built into here because it's interesting is the Washington Senators that became the Texas Rangers.
Okay, the second
And
iteration. Right.
yeah, they've got Joe Coleman, right? The son of another Joe Coleman that pitched, became a Tiger pitcher, pretty good pitcher here, Dick Bosman. But this is one of the fun things about this is you got a big line here from Frank Howard during those years. So
You have Camilo Pascual on there.
yeah,
Not bad.
great, some good defense here with Ken McMullen at third and Ed Brinkman that couldn't hit his way out of a wet paper sack. Although I think one
Right.
game you and I played, he's pretty good.
Yeah. But look at Hondo, man. 46 dingers, huh? You gotta love
Yeah,
Frank
it's a big
Howard.
card. So let's take a look at his base running, not good
No,
at
no.
all. But yeah, fun stuff. So I have put on that file some that weren't quite at 500 or whatever that are interesting. But again, I'm onto this other
Well,
project now, so this will wait a little bit.
well, what's nice, as you mentioned before too, is right prior to putting that substandard Bucko team on there, Ralph Kiner wasn't represented in here, so it's nice to see some of these players who aren't represented getting in here, these sub 500 teams.
Yeah, and I
There's
haven't
got
renamed this file. So as we look around for all these teams, the other thing I can do here, like I had '04 to '08, I can just go, I'm going to get around to doing all this, right? I just need to change that and make it 2004 to '08. So now I know, right? I should have looked because I can see 1904-08. Let's take a look at that team. That's the team that we were talking about earlier.
the hitless
The
wonders,
hitless
right?
wonders, but look at the pitching staff.
Oh my God, Ed Walsh, Altrock. Oh my God,
So
yeah,
take a
that's
look.
just
Look, ERA
ridiculous.
plus is a great indicator right there when you start moving them around because it's era adjusted. And yeah, great pitching staff with the 140s, 150s, 160s. We got one guy that you can throw in when you're getting beat up, but that's just a great staff right there.
Hmm.
Always fun
Well,
stuff looking at. I do the same thing. Sometimes I'll fire these up and just go look at the different files. I'm sure you're a big Walter Johnson fan, aren't you?
who, me?
Yeah.
Just a tad. I've only
And
called him the most dominant pitcher in baseball history, period. So
I
yeah, I'm a
actually have a
big
card pack done for
Johnson.
this team because I don't have a lot of card packs done yet, but this is one I did early. And this is a team that was in the World Series, what, 2 years out of this run? And
1924 and 1925.
yeah, so we look
This is
at
the end of Johnson's career.
yeah, exactly. So these aren't his best years, right? I mean, you got Goose Goslin, Sam Rice. So if you look at Walter Johnson, you're seeing him with a 3.1 ERA. You know, still a good pitcher, 122 games. But if we look at his ERA plus, it's 135. So he's good. And I
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to have an earlier version, even though they didn't make a World Series experience, to try to capture
Well,
that. So,
you need the 1913 Senators.
well, here's what I did. I made the 12 to 16. So now you've got this
There
Walter
you go.
Johnson.
Right, you got it. Yes. There
And when
you
we
and
click on him,
410.
now look at this. Look
Jeez.
at that ERA plus 259. 100 is average. That's incredible.
He was a beast, and I will defend it to my grave. The most
And here's
dominant
where you
pitcher of
see
all
that
time.
Action uses these. See these labels right here in the notes for Hall of Fame, MVPs, and all that? They use that for this. I'm just basically taking that same slot under here under notes, right? And I'm using that to put those short bios for the Negro League. So, this is something if you
Yes.
wanted to do, you could, if this is kind of nice to know, but I'm like, gosh, it'd be kind of cool if you had a league. Like if I do my all-time greats, my plan is to have notes similar about these players as well. Something that's a little bit more robust than just, Hall of Fame or MVP.
Absolutely. Big Clue has something in here. He says, um, addressing us too, he says, you were talking earlier about Negro League versus Major League Baseball differences. Another one is that World War II didn't hit the Negro Leagues as much as it did in Major League Baseball, so they didn't have a talent depletion in the early 40s. That's a good point. It's a really good point.
Yep.
I think it was both of us, actually. But yeah, they didn't. And for the wrong reasons that they didn't have the talent depletion, but yeah, prejudice
Yeah,
again.
fun stuff. If we as we just kill time here, if anybody's got to run, feel free to. We've got 7 people hanging out here. As I've got about 10, 15 more free minutes here to just kind of answer questions, nose around the file a little bit, and as we maybe think of what that series matchup might be, what teams we might want to take
I'll take
into
now,
that.
except for that Phillies team because these guys can be evil. I'll manage whatever team you guys pick. I will manage whoever you
Hmm,
pick.
interesting. Yeah, maybe we ought to leave that to Paul. How about these? Look at you talk about dead ball that you guys are all familiar with, right? Here's an early the Highlanders.
Oh yeah, they had a good year. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 1907. They had a pretty good year. Look,
Wee
you got
Willie
Willie
Keeler. Is
Keeler
it
there.
surprising his bunt rating is a 10?
I'm shocked. Kind of
Eh,
funny to think that the forerunner of the Yankees had one good year and then all of a sudden, kaboom! Within
Here's a
years,
fun
guy,
team.
it blows up. Who's that?
Nap. LaJoy.
Oh my God, yeah. So beloved that they were actually, as we already have properly put there, the team was named after him,
Yes,
after Lajoie. Yeah.
the Naps.
Elmer
So
Flick, a forgotten Hall of Famer, who's
yep.
doing really well in our Ned McGreevy league, makes me happy.
There's Cy Young. Does anybody have Cy Young in the Ned McGreevy pitching?
Yes, I can't remember who, but somebody definitely does have Cy Young. Can't remember who it is though.
Good ERA plus for him. Yeah, it's kind of fun seeing these old teams in those 5-year views.
You know, and other teams too, like we talk a lot about is those 1930s Giants teams. Carl Hubble. Oh my God, right? Carl Hubble was insane.
Oh, yeah,
I know
those
you're
are
in an
great.
American League file right now, but yeah, those Giants teams were great, great, great.
Let's take a look
Stan
here.
Kovaleski. Robbie has Stan Kovaleski, I believe, on his
Yeah,
staff.
great
Chris
pitcher.
Speaker. Chris Speaker's '2 in batting average in our
Chris
league right now.
Speaker
He's on my team.
getting it done here. And he's also, before he moved over to the Indians, you'll see him playing great outfield on this 12 to 16 Red Sox team.
Oh yeah. And what about Smokey Joe Wood, right? Able to, where he had the great years as a pitcher, but then pretty damn fine position player too. And that
Yeah,
was
right
way
here's
back
a
when.
great Smokey Joe Wood. Let's take a look at his batting that year. I don't know if he did a lot of position, but yeah, he's batting 286 here, 91 at bats that year. But
And a 2.02 earned run
the
average.
16 to 20 version, he's gone. But this is one with a Babe Ruth. If you notice here, he's a pitcher. He's
Hmm.
halftime, right?
And yep,
Got a
cranks
decent
20
pitching
home
line,
runs.
and this is when he starts. He got 394 at bats, and he's hitting home runs. So that's a good one
You know,
here
I
too.
wonder in the Negro League thing, once that becomes into a greats file, because I think, right, we can argue about who's the greatest player of all time, and we can probably come up with a list of 20. The reason why I just say Babe Ruth is because he would have made the Hall of Fame as a pitcher as well, and just being able to do that, and I don't know. I mean, so is Ruth really the greatest of all time? I wonder if we can test that. I think that'll be fun.
Well, and you got other players too that could have. So what you look at the Negro leagues,
Sure.
what I've already found out in some of the research is most of their better at they didn't value the pitching. There's
No, they didn't.
probably very few that would have been really successful, great pitchers in the major league because they were all playing position players like Charleston. I mean, Turkey Stern started out as a pitcher, and they were good pitchers,
Yes.
but there's so much value when they're playing position players. So, um, yeah, interesting. It'd be fun to be able to do some simming and get to test all that out and play with it. But
It sucks to have to work for a living because I could just do this all day and all
you could
night.
just sit here and analyze rosters and slices and
Exactly. I wish somebody would pay me for it,
yeah.
bastards.
Here's another interesting one. This Minnesota team with where's my guy right here? This
Twins are.
Minnesota
I
team.
like the Twins franchise. I like the Twins.
Oh, I'm looking for Lyman Bostock. He's right here. There he is.
Hmm. What boy? What could have been, huh?
Yep.
Damn it! Damn it! Damn it!
So a lot of good fun stuff here. But yeah, maybe some that managed that 1910s Cleveland team. Mm.
Hmm.
So do you go early dead ball? Do we do some dead ball stuff, right? Like in a matchup where you've got Knapp and some of these early ones, or do you go in here and take that Cleveland team? Let's take a look at that lineup. Do it by at bats here.
Right.
It's a pretty good team.
Yeah. So of course, about that 1920 pennant race. The eight White Sox players weren't banned until near the end of the season. So it was White Sox Indians going down the line until Landis dropped the hammer. That is a good team though. And of course they would go on to the World Series.
Oh, maybe that's a matchup. That Indian team, and then we have these the tarnished reputation, right? Almost similar years for this one.
Why not? Why not? I think it would be brilliant because it would right? Because again, those teams they were going neck and neck throughout the whole season until Landis kicked those eight, to kick the 8 players out.
Yep.
'Cause Chicago may have repeated, but that Cleveland team was tough. That would be fun. And
And
it's
they're good balanced team with the good balanced. They got pitching. That could
yeah,
be
you
fun.
got Seacott, you got Red Faber. Red Faber, they're the 1.99 earned run average.
Yep. Let's take a look at their ERA plus because that really gives you the good snapshot of how this plays. Oh, dead
Sure.
average. That's the 100 is the exact average right here. Oh yeah. What's cool is you can hover over these.
Hmm.
Not all of them, but here's one like just by year in park, right? 100 is average. Eddie Seacott, let's see, 149. Faber 131. So these are Reb Russell, all above average, right?
Oh yeah.
Jim Scott.
Big clue talking about one of my favorite all-time players, George Sisler. He was a good pitcher.
Well, we've got this team the same in that we could call it that 1920-ish frame.
Oh, the
So take a
1922 Browns,
look at
man.
these guys. There's some
Ken
average.
Williams. Ken Williams. Oh, buddy. Big clue says if he says if he was a Powerball. Thank you, man. All right. I love it. Could you imagine? We hit $1 billion, be like, all right, guys, here's our job. We're just gonna look at baseball stats
Well,
all day.
we'd find a
In
retreat, some
Tahiti.
baseball retreat, and book it, and then we
Yeah,
would all just have computers in a big room playing each other head to head, staring at screens.
that would be a blast, wouldn't it?
It would.
There's George Sisler, man. What a great player. But Ken Williams, right? So guys, right? These
Oh,
1922
let's look at these.
Browns finished one game behind the Yankees. One game.
Let's look at his OPS plus, similar, right? Because 100 is average, 165. Then look at Ken Williams, 165. So a lot of times Sisler gets all the credit, but Williams had, he had high average and a lot of pop. Look, what's he hitting? 34 home runs.
Yep.
Jack Tobin, 125, not bad. A 343 hitter.
I love this Browns team.
Baby
And
Tall
there's a great
Jacobson,
documentary
353.
on the Browns, by the way, on YouTube, if anybody's
Yep.
interested. Great documentary on the St. Louis Browns. Tough team, these 19. I mean,
We got
again,
some.
to finish within one game back of the Yankees. I mean, damn. And that the Yankee team in 1922 was, even though they lost to the Giants in the World Series, that was a powerful team, 1922 Yanks.
Yes.
God,
Possibilities are endless. We could do an
they
American League
are
matchup,
endless, right?
or we go over and God, it's what do you do? What team do you pick?
Hopefully, Midlife Crisis speakers aren't on where Mrs. Midlife Crisis can hear.
Yeah,
We
no
dubbed
kidding.
her that, by the way. He said if I hit, I'd build the retreat after I gave half to my wife and told her to get lost.
Isn't somebody on here a fan of the early A's team too? Weren't you telling me that?
I'm one of them. But somebody in the community is Chris. So he goes by slower board gamer now. But Chris Delaware is a mega fan of these 19-teen A's. Loves
Yeah,
them.
so he would. Yeah, this is look at there. Home Run Baker, Eddie Collins, Stuffy McInnes. There's a good team.
Drew Boldring's his favorite player on there. Yep. Yeah, that's a damn fine team. There's Wally Shang. Wally Shang is a name everybody ought to know. Jack Barry. So
Yeah.
so one of the things I love about baseball. Look at that. Look at this nickname, Boardwalk Brown. I want to be known as Boardwalk Brown. Isn't that a great nickname? But
There,
it is. It's infinite. I don't know. Maybe because I don't follow
I'm
other
just popping
sports,
these over here.
but I just don't imagine like there's just something about baseball that just I don't know. It's I don't know. Can't get my head around it.
And a late
Me.
Senators team here. Yeah, so tons of cool little options we could have, right? I mean,
Oh my God.
the
It's
hardest thing is
amazing.
going to be to figure as we get suggestions from people, do we do something? But I think if we find a team that they really want us to play, one of us or whatever, maybe we grab some. There's two ways to do it. Do you get something completely opposite and like get a modern team, or do you? I kind of like the similar era matchup thought.
So
Anyway,
do I.
that's what I'm
So do I.
feeling, right?
That's
That's
why I
what my
like the
gut's telling
Tigers
me.
Cardinals. Yep, that's why I like the Tigers Cardinals. That was a damn fine game there, that 5-4.
So if we're
Just
looking like the teens to 20, right? There's some good options here with I mean, forget the 27 Yankees, right? That's kind of overdone, right? But we got
Oh
some
my God, right?
right
Yeah.
here. We've got some options right there. It's that St. Louis team, Cleveland, and that. And then if we go over and look at, let's go take a look at the NL file again in that same time frame.
Well, if you can find an analog to the 1929, 30, or 31 Philadelphia A's, that would be fun. It's one of my uh, favorite teams, the 29 to 31 Philadelphia A's.
Well,
Connie Mack put together a dangerous team there. Stopped the Yankees in 29, 30, and 31. Won the World Series in 29 and 30.
well, let's see that
Pretty good
same
team.
time frame. So we could go late 20s to early 30s. Let's go take a look over here. Well, look, how about this Cub team right here? We've got a 30. Well, let's try this 28 to 32 Cub team. Let's take a look at that. Oh, Roger
Okay.
Hornsby, part time over there. Let's take a look at this one.
You're going to have, right? And Hack Wilson's going to be on there, right?
Okay, yeah, let me do it by average. So we've got several above 300
There
hitters.
he is.
Ooh, this Cubs version against that A's version you're talking about, that's a great matchup for a series.
Gee, Smelly Wrestling Geek, I don't know how we should take this. This is funny.
He's
Because the great
back.
thing about Beatles and Steve is their streams always last hours upon hours, so he can leave to do something, come back, and they'll still be streaming. Oh my God. Some night I'm going to shock you guys. I'm going to do a half-hour stream. It's going to happen. That's funny. Thank you for that. I take that as a compliment. I like it. Arnold wants to know if you're going to post a new file.
Well, here's what I'm telling Arnold. Now, for Arnold's coming in with some good praise here. I've got him all pumped up. Arnold,
There you go.
he messages me from the action board. I'm just going to attach the files right to that message and send them back. You don't need to go looking for it because
Nice.
I hadn't. I'll post the new ones. I hadn't gotten feedback from Hockey Dad yet, who was kind of looking through some of the stuff on that last Phillies team. But yeah,
Kai Kyler there. Have a good dinner, Robbie. Kyler's an interesting player because when you're creating all-time franchise like teams, those really super loaded ones, you could put Kyler on the Pirates or the Cubs. He was equally great, but right, and his
oh,
curves almost split exactly in half between the Bucks and the Cubs. It's like,
let's
where do you
look
put
at.
Kyler? Look at and Hornsby, same way with the Cubs and Cardinals. I think
Okay,
he was probably a
here's a
little better with the
24 to
Cardinals.
28 that he shows up on, right? So he's going to show
Who,
up in
Kyler?
the 20s right here. Look.
Right, he's going to be a Pirate.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. So he's equally good as a Pirate and as a Cub, and I think both clubs like claim him as like one of their
And then we
greats.
go back up into the 30s. This is an interesting version. He's not here. He's gone off, right? But now we've got Arky Vaughn coming in.
Yep. And he was tutored by Hannes Wagner personally, and Vaughn, one of the great shortstops of all time.
Hey, I like Smelly Resin. Hey, come back. Hey, we don't know what else to do. We just keep the cameras rolling, man. We're just sitting here looking at
Exactly.
rosters, debating what could be the next series. Because now you've sent us into a rabbit hole where now that you've posed this, now we're going to think what could from that era a great matchup be.
Midlife crisis, I appreciate you. And have you noticed that I always say thank you to you like 3 times because of the night that I forgot you? He says he got up one morning for work and I just signed off. You could never do a 30-minute stream. It takes you 30 minutes to
Well,
say
hey,
goodbye.
I think last night or one of the nights where I logged off and said that, then I went back and watched to see if I missed anything on the end, and there was another 30 minutes, and you were
Oh yeah,
you were signing off.
yeah, yeah. I can't help it. It's just because to me, talking to these degenerates, and I count myself in that number too. I have more fun talking baseball with you guys actually than doing the games.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys want, and I say this for praise for them, if you guys want to see baseball games played out all the way, go see Robert at RGL Network and watch Al Red Sox fan and
Yep.
Christopher Slovic. If you come to me for a baseball game, you need to get your meds checked. Sorry about that, but I just love talking to everybody because they're so smart. They're awesome.
Here's another team I've got up. I don't know why these things are showing down here. It's crazy.
Which is that, Steve?
So let's
Oh,
go.
there we
I've got
go.
manager. Who's my manager?
Okay.
Bill Terry.
Let's see now Ken Castro picking on us here now in a good way. I just woke up from a phone nap, and you guys are still here. Love it. Yep. For
Bill
for
Terry.
Bill Terry.
I don't have any Bill Terry. Yeah, this is the one. I keep
For
looking at
manager.
this team. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, these Giants we were talking about in the 1930s.
Yeah. So.
Carl
I know
Ruble,
why it was.
1934
I
All-Star
may not
game.
have. Let me see. Road for the. If people don't do this, I never did this a couple years ago. Now I go in here and spend some of the time looking at some of the early Giants stuff I've got here.
Great franchise. Great franchise, the Giants. And transplant out to California. What do they, and they just keep it going. You know what would be a fun? I'll tell you what would be a fun game to do head to head, too. Sometime I don't know because we're talking about the Giants. What about that one game playoff in 1951 between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants, and Bobby Thompson hit the shot heard around the world?
Oh yeah,
That'd be fun. Russ Hodges losing it. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant, right? Somebody on YouTube found what Red Barber said, the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he said the Giants won. That was
that's
it.
great.
But yeah, I mean, Russ Hodges just loses it. And trivia for you guys, by the way, really quickly. In the first Godfather movie, when Santino Corleone is pulling up to the right to the turnpike, the causeway thing where you have to pay your toll, the baseball game that you hear actually going on in the background is a record, and it's so this happens like Sonny dies in 1945, 46, whatever. But that is the 1951 game between the Dodgers and the Giants that you hear playing in the first Godfather movie at the toll booth.
Oh wow,
See, I don't have a life, but there you go.
nice. Yeah, here's that Carl Hubble. Loving some
Beast.
Carl Hubble on this team.
Beast. I mean, again, that 1934 All-Star game, holy shit, struck out Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin.
Oh,
I
here's
mean,
an early
five in a row.
Brooklyn team. How about a Brooklyn team before Jackie Robinson shows up? I got that.
1916. If you're talking dead ball, they went to the series in 1960. Oh, you're in the 40s. Okay. Yeah, no, that 1941 Dodger team's awesome. That's a great Dodger team. I'd manage them. Absolutely. I like the Brooklyn Dodgers. So
And let's take a look at that early team you're talking about here.
the 1916 Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made it to the World Series. Uncle Wilbert Robinson. Look at there's my buddy Zach Wheat. He was eternally, but that's what makes baseball a pastime. Exactly, the ebb and flow, the pace of the game leaves time for observation, conversation, debate, etc. Yet another reason it's the best by far. You can't have these conversations in an F-ball game or a basketball game. And in hockey, you got to watch for the puck in the fights, right?
Exactly.
Ken Castro's given us
Pitchers.
some, maybe something for you to think about down the line. He says the 1900 Brooklyn Superbas have a loaded roster.
The which
You,
ones?
you, you, 1900, but so they're 19th century. So you've only done like one or two, haven't you? 19th century, and I don't think was the
Right
Superbas one
here.
of them. I don't think
Look at
so.
this. 1899 to 03. Come on now.
Hey, I don't have them up here on my screen, dude. I have to go by what you're doing.
They're
There
there.
they are. There they are. Keeler, Shecker, Joe Kelly, McGuire. Oh my God, yeah. Huey Jennings. Damn fine teams. Oh, Dolan. There's one of cousin wanted Bad Bill Dolan from my team in the Ned McGreevy League. I didn't trade him. So the big clue so right about baseball. We gotta have that why I love baseball chat coming soon. We have to get some guys
Oh,
on the mic
guaranteed.
with us. Yeah. Hopefully you're gonna be part of it and on the mic. Yeah.
Happy to do it. And
Good.
Arnold, take a look at your IM over there on the action. Oh yeah, I like these guys. People, Ken's come back from a nap, midlife crisis, is driven home. He's cleaned the kitchen. I mean, people are doing all kinds of stuff. And like, these people are still on. What the heck?
Yeah. Yep. There you go. I don't know what that says about us, Steve. I really don't
Well,
know.
I think you and I didn't we have like a 2.5 hour chat that turned into all kinds of stuff and yesterday.
Oh
But
yeah, absolutely.
anyway,
Absolutely.
that's the cool thing. And the pitching staff here, Brickyard Kennedy.
Oh, is that true? Big clue. I thought that was a one-game playoff. So thank you for again. This is why I love talking to these guys. Educates me. He's talking about the 1951 game. That was a rubber match of a three-game series. I thought it was a one-game playoff.
Hmm.
Thank you, Big Clue. All these years, I thought it was a one-game playoff at the end of the season. Dead heat between the Giants and Dodgers. Damn. Clem Labine had shut them out just the day before, if I recall
You
correctly.
know,
So it's been
another one happened between
nice,
them in
man.
'62, correct?
The Dodgers and Giants? I
Yes.
think so. I think so. Cool.
Anyway, kind of fun browsing
Thank
these
you.
rosters and seeing
Oh
what
yeah.
lurks out there for possibilities. But I've been bulking up on the
Infinite.
pre-50 teams a little bit for both leagues. And I've really
Nice.
neglected, there's so many other almost teams in the current day that I'm just
Oh
personally
yeah.
not that interested in, is one of the reasons why I haven't built them.
Right.
But trying to make sure there's options.
Guys, you and I just because it was asked here in the chat, Big Clue said, please tell me you're going to do the Negro Leagues file as a league, and that is the plan. So we hope that you guys will get involved.
Yes,
Steve,
and
get
we want people
involved.
to tell us if they want to be in the league, so we know how many. If we've got 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever. My goal was, what was the Beatles, to at least have enough players to have
Eight teams.
eight full
Eight
teams
teams.
is the goal.
Yep.
Um, and I guess I could have created about 8 more players if I hadn't killed time today enjoying myself.
Well, who? What's wrong with you? What do you mean enjoying yourself, Steve? You're supposed to be slaving over these league files for us
Yeah,
36 hours a day.
exactly.
Yes. Have Mrs. Tate come in and spoon feed you. You know, here you go, dear, and you're just going off. Yes, but I have to do meal subtles. No, you have to have
Yeah,
them done. Yeah.
that's
See,
exactly who I was working on right there. Now that you mentioned it,
nice.
let's go back to that file
Arnold
and see
Hunter
where I'm
has a
at.
big offer for you, buddy. He says if he wins the Powerball, he's going to pay you to do this full time.
And I would accept. And we don't have the Powerball here in Utah, or I would have tickets myself. But I hope somebody on this chat right here wins it. It'd be great.
That would be nice. Wow. Well, Steve, thank you. I'm going to cut off and grab something
I'm cutting
to
off as well.
eat.
Both going to head off the same thing. It's been fun. I don't know how long we've run. I haven't seen. Oh, 3 hours and 41 minutes. Heck, we might be 3 minutes shy of the other one.
Fun
But
stuff.
hey,
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
you got it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing the head-to-head game, and thanks for I guess people here that were along for the ride as we explained this whole the Negro League project. Because
Hmm.
I think I may come on maybe weekly or something, just kind of talk a little bit about more what I'm finding out or how I'm building it, right? Because I'm just on the initial stage. Again, I've got just these players in here. Um, I don't know if everybody was
Oh,
here
I
from the
think that would be
beginning, but I'm putting
a
in the
great
player
idea.
packs. I'm putting in bios in place of the little notes for Hall of Fame. So when we pull up a card, we get at least 100 characters down here on the bottom line. Yeah. Anyway, I almost wish Dave would give us the option to not put the banner above there and would give us 200 characters to put even more of a bio. But did you know
Well,
that Willie Wells was part of the Newark's $1 million infield?
I did.
I,
Thanks to you.
I didn't know
Thanks
that
to
till I
you.
researched this. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm liking
know
about
either.
this, is a lot of history as I'm researching.
It's gonna be this is gonna be a blast when it finally does the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, if we could get like just 2 teams just for some time in February to do right and set it in Comiskey Park as they
Here's
do the
what it.
All-Star game,
Let's do it.
it'd be
We can
fun.
get. I'll get a couple teams set aside on a special disc, even though I'm maintaining them on a main one, and that'll be a
Mhm.
good test of the league, right? We'll
Heck
call it. It's a great way to beta test some stuff. Is putting together like the first two kind of teams. I think it'd be great. Be nice to get some people out there, some of the followers here, to get in there and say, "Hey, we want to do some head-to-head as well."
yeah, what say you guys? I'm sorry, I'm taking a aspirin here. That's why I'm talking like this. The big clue. Hmm. This says that you and I should play the '60s Giants versus Dodgers. That would be a blast. But what about some of you other guys? Now that you've seen us play 3 games head to head, anybody out there think this is something you might either do on one of these channels or maybe just call up your friend and say, let's get on Discord or on our cell phones and hey guys, this is so much fun playing head to head. It's
Well,
crazy.
they could tell both of us at different times. Okay, we're stopping. Like, ooh, hold on a second. We need to go. Do I make a pinch hit? So it really, is fun when you're going up against somebody. I think I enjoy playing it more than I do against like the computer manager. It just has a
So
different
do I.
feel to me. So
And Forever Remain 90 says he's always up for more head to head. Well, we'll oblige you. We're
cool.
hoping that
Yeah,
more people
love it.
will get into it, though. But yes,
Is there how many people here? Maybe I should do a poll here. I'm not that fancy. I don't know how to do a poll in this format, but how many people here that follow right here don't have the action game? I don't know. I mean, it'd be kind of interesting if you guys could just chat in if there's anybody here that doesn't own it. I know Arnold's got it. I know Midlife Crisis is playing it, but
Robbie has it. He's off to dinner, so
yeah,
Robbie has it. He doesn't have a girlfriend, but he does have Action PC Baseball,
well,
so that's a start.
one of them will cause him less grief in his life.
Exactly. So yeah. So gotta get the game, guys. It's not that expensive,
Dick
and
Lundy,
if
look
you
at this. Contact hitter with well-rounded talent, some power, good speed, and a possessor of a great glove.
we're gonna learn so much about these great players, who again, I say this, above all players deserve to be remembered because they were forgotten by baseball. I mean, what was it just last year, 2 years ago, they finally recognized the Negro Leagues as major league or as a major league,
Yeah, I mean, with Baseball Reference brought him in on the stats, which is good.
right?
But it's like, look at what Retro Sheet's done for Major League Baseball. I mean, it's uncovered so much history with the lefty-righty splits and all that cool stuff, right? And
Hmm.
now the sad thing with the with Negro League is you don't have a lot of games. Like I think you were mentioning earlier, when we were talking about a lot of the games just didn't get the same kind of coverage.
No,
Um, and there's not
not
the
at all.
historical record to go back like with Retro Sheet and recreate a lot of that stuff and research it, which sucks. But hey, at least they're
Yeah, but you're
compiling what they
changing
can
that
get their
now.
hands on. Yeah, and
Yeah, but what you're
I
doing
couldn't
now
do this if the
is
people
truly a
hadn't done
game
it.
changer. Truly, well, yeah, in fact, it's a big clue, but this is truly, pardon the pun, a game changer. What you're doing, and not
Yep.
only just for gaming. I think what you're doing is an important file that a lot of people, if they really wanted to, would get in and kind of just sort of study. And I think there's a lot that can be done with this. And it was so cool to see, right, when at the very beginning, and I know we're almost right, but almost 4 hours ago, and you had shown um, Dave Cook's original, right, and
Yeah.
then now to see these guys now carted out in a major league season is like just amazing to me. I love it,
Yep.
love it. So
So
he's the
what?
rookie
What's
who
big?
didn't
Oh,
make the Hall of Fame. Big clue. What? Where do you get these questions, man?
oh, I'm trying to.
Makes my brain hurt, which is in a good way. In a good way.
I'm trying to think. And I just read the bio and they're pulling it. Um,
I'm.
because who are the other ones you got? Okay, Dandridge, who I've carded already. I've got his. Let me pull his thing over here. He's
Yeah.
in there,
Dandridge
right?
is Hall of Fame. Oh, absolutely.
He's in there. Where's my? I can't pull it through. So here's my file right here. Let's go here. So I've got these guys searched for so far, right? So I've got Dandridge on here, right here. Trying to think who else was on that infield. I've got Suttles right here, so it's got to be those three. So who's the fourth that I would be missing?
Yes, because Suttles is he's in the Hall of Fame, I believe.
That's the one that I can't remember. I don't know
Yep.
who the other one was.
You'll see more action.
Oh.
There's Zalapsky Smurf. Hey, Zalapsky Smurf.
Hey, what's people coming in here? Yeah, Forever Remain 90 looks like he's got replay PC and action. He's just getting out of Cards and Dice this last December. So
Oh, all right. Well,
I guess the question is, how do you like the games? I honestly fired up Replay Baseball a couple times last week, and I spent an hour almost one day, and I'm trying. It comes with the 2014 season, and I'm trying to navigate my way around it. I haven't even played a game yet because I couldn't intuitively figure out how to get a game going.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
And
I
I
don't knock
thought,
anybody
am
that
I
plays it, but
am I
I've
an
tried
idiot,
twice.
or is it just not?
Ooh.
I'm just not familiar with it. And here's the sad thing: for some weird reason, when I watch people play that game online, it's a game that I want to like, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like when I see it,
Right.
it visually looks good for like a card and dice game that's been platformed over. It looks good to me. And I'm like, that's a cool game. Let me give it a try, right? And the demo's free. But
Yeah.
I haven't played one game with it yet because I've spent an hour in there. Now I did download the things for music and the slideshow when it comes on. I think that's cool. While you're like at
Mhm.
the front screen, you can listen to some cool baseball audio and that's neat. But I haven't played a game yet because I couldn't figure out how to just get a regular game going.
Yeah, I tried it twice. It was the same thing. I'm like Bafagostunad. I got rid of it. Oh, I just got Zalapsky Smurf says that he loves the work that we do. Thank you.
Good. Well, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And hey, Scott. Yeah, a PC replay. I don't know. I felt like the village idiot with that thing too. But I thought I looked over. It's like really. I have Action PC. I've got Out of the Park. I've got all these other games done in mind. I'm not messing with this thing. And I looked at the season prices and almost had a heart attack. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
PC.
it's just me navigating. I don't doubt it. Like I've watched
It's
people
a
play that
good game.
online.
It looks
Yeah,
like a
I've
good
watched
game.
Red Sox fan use it, and I'm like,
Right.
this it looks like a game to me that comes from card and dice over to like be able to use it digitally that I could go for. It's like there's no turn off to me. I'm like, it looks nice. You can looks good.
Hmm.
There's no action like video chalkboard, but who cares, right? But it looks good for what it is, and
Exactly.
it's upset. So I'm going to have to go back and keep trying it because it's really upsetting me that I haven't figured out how to play a game because I want to like it.
Right.
And
Same
I
here,
have
but
dog fiasco in the background over here.
uh-oh. All right. Well, guys, wow.
That might be the cue that I need to go.
Could be. Could be. Thank you so much, Steve. I think Steve split already. Ah,
You got it. And with that, I'm going to sign off and go
okay.
see what my dogs are so excited about. But hey, we'll be back with more stuff. You'll probably be back tonight with who
Ed
knows what.
McGreevy. Ed McGreevy League tonight.
Nice.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, Steve, it's up to you to say the goodbyes, dude. This is
Well,
my channel.
I've got a finish button. I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for hanging out with us for 3 hours and 50 minutes. And we will see you sometime soon. And we'll keep you updated on all this other projects and nonsense that we do. And I mean nonsense in a good way.